Might be helpful. There we go. All right, well, good late evening to you. I'm forecaster Nick Dunn, joined by meteorologist Adriana Michaels. We are going to be resuming our severe weather coverage now with a few more pages on board and a few more other social media platforms with us as well. We are tracking a pretty intense squall line right now crossing north central Indiana down into central Indiana. Numerous tornado warnings right now, multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. And Adriana, I think this is kind of panning out exactly kind of how we thought it would. At least so
Yeah,
far to a point, but we do have that new tornado watch now for the Miami Valley until 5 o'clock in the morning, so we got a long way to go.
I know. So we were all day talking about how these storms are going to start moving in right around this time into the overnight hours into early tomorrow morning. So obviously everything's kind of taking shape as to what we were originally expecting. So you're tuning in now, obviously make sure you're charging those things while you still have the power to do so. I got everything plugged in it in case we do end up losing power as those really strong winds move into. But I know we have a lot to talk about, Nick.
Yeah, we sure do. So let's go ahead and start. We have a tornado warning in effect right now to the southwest of Fort Wayne, and this is pretty close to where I used to live. It goes until 11:45. The other key thing here right now, storm motion. Check this out up here, 75 miles per hour. And actually, I'm going to have to. I'll move Adriana down so we can see her a little bit better there. But very fast storm motions kind of moving across the region right now, moving east and northeast at 75 miles per hour. That's kind of unheard of across our particular region, and so that's something we're just going to kind of bear with us here for a little bit. Moving very quick. That is faster than your freeway speed. So just kind of imagine if you're going to work, it takes you 15 minutes. Where this particular storm is at now, it's moving pretty much right up the US 24 corridor. So this is a tornado warning, which, by the way, this particular storm has a long-lived history of producing widespread damage and even a couple of tornadoes as we move along the line. But right now, for northwestern portions of Grant County, southeastern Miami County, southeastern Wabash County, western Wells County, and a good portion of Huntington County, this is a new tornado warning until 11:45, radar indicated rotation. And if we go over to the velocity product, you will see that right to the east of Kokomo, that has kind of wrapped back up there again. And we're going to continue to watch things very closely, but it's going to be this spot here right over Indian Heights, moving here towards Greentown and then eventually Converse and Marion and Adrian. When we're moving it at 75 miles per hour, you don't have a lot of time to react. So everybody in these areas have got to get in their shelters right away.
Right. And the best way to find your safe spot is we always say put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. It's always good to just go over. I had a few questions today about if you don't have a basement, where do you go? I live on a slab. I think Nick does too. And both
Mm-hmm.
of our safe spots are those bathrooms in the house, away from any room that has windows, a closet that could fit the family, things like that. Right now, we have pillows, we have the dog's leash, everything set up in the bathroom in case we need to get in there at any point today. Obviously, basement, if you have a basement. If you do live in a mobile home and we're letting you know ahead of time, it's a good idea to seek shelter somewhere else. If you have friends or family or someone in the area that will allow you to come kind of spend the night, it's a good idea to do that if you're planning ahead on that end too.
Definitely. Is that something else to kind of keep in mind too? Make sure you let your friends and your family know. And again, as we're kind of moving along, our Bell Park Weather Network app is free for you to download. QR codes in the lower left-hand corner. You'll get all the alerts coming right to your phone, right to all of your devices. You can download it across all of your devices so that you get all the alerts. But real quick, the area of concern here, just moving through Kokomo right now. Watch the overall spin. Okay, as the radar's looping, you can see that we kind of have two line segments here and a little bit of a comma head feature also kind of going on here. It's really kind of a very busy type of radar signature. I would not be surprised. This might be trying to take a little bit more of an eastward turn here towards Marion. But really, anybody up the line here just to the south of US 24 from Huntington down to LaFontaine, Converse, and then again there towards east of Kokomo. That's a very large tornado warning polygon encompassing a lot of people. So we've got to get you guys in your safe place. Again, as Adriana said, get below ground if you can. If you're in a mobile home, you've got to find a more substantial shelter. There should be nobody driving, by the way, on I-69 from Marion up to Fort Wayne right now. I would, if you're coming south up I-69, I would just find a more convenient place to take shelter. We don't want you to try out running a tornado, but maybe try to find a convenience store, maybe a fast food restaurant that's open 24/7, and do not take shelter under an overpass. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier tonight, but that's the last thing that you want to do. So again, nobody should be driving up I-69 right now. US 24 kind of runs from Peru to Wabash to Huntington up here to Roanoke. Fort Wayne International Airport sits right there, so we're not too far away from there. Just kind of give you some geographical landmarks. And we have a plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings starting to pop up as well. This line really starting to take a pretty interesting structure and shape to it. Continues to push east very quickly, but really here, even in Fort Wayne, just for the last couple of scans, That part of the line appears to be intensifying just a little bit. But again, anybody up and down I-69 right now, we kind of talked about this 11:30 window was going to be the time that was going to be kind of approaching that area. We're there right now. So it means they'll be moving into northwestern Ohio here within the next 15 to 20 minutes, and that includes the Miami Valley. So Salina, within the next half hour, just kind of be prepared for you. With storms moving at this speed, the good thing is they're going to be in and out very quickly, but that also means we have a lot of wind energy to work with. And again, the key here, damaging wind is our primary concern, right? Isolated tornadoes possible, but damaging wind is our primary concern. So even if you go under one of these, lower end severe thunderstorm warnings, don't be surprised if we tell you to kind of treat it as a tornado warning, especially if it's tagged as tornado possible, just because of how quick these storms are moving. And even just because the line looks really thin here, especially to the one here northwest of Fort Wayne, that doesn't mean that it's not packing a punch, right? We talked about that too today, how it's not going to take a whole lot to get these winds to be transported back down to the ground. Let's go back down to our tornado warning again here though real quick, because we continue to see some interesting signs with this kind of crossing east of Kokomo. I think it's kind of moving still just a little bit more east-northeast. So we'll see if they issue an updated polygon on that or not. But really interesting. You can see again, watch this. The overall storm continuing to show some signs of spin as it crossed Frankfurt. Again, we had a confirmed tornado there, lofting debris several thousand feet into the air. But the overall track on that now, coming right up here to Converse and Swayze. We need to be in our safe places now. Marion, if you have a Marion address, I'd be in your safe place even though you're right on the edge of the polygon. Again, we tell you, if you're in that polygon, you need to take action. If you're not in the polygon, then you don't have to take action. But obviously, depending on where city limits are drawn, if you have a Marion address, I would just be in your safe place anyway. Right. So,
yeah. So Owen, one of our other team members here, was reporting that there's a possible touchdown right now in eastern Howard County. So there's also reports of a partial.
Oh yeah, it's down. Collapse. Yep, I see it.
So yeah, definitely something to take very seriously. Obviously, it's an active situation to begin with. Anyone that's in a warning should be taking shelter. But now we have a possible touchdown in eastern Howard County.
Yeah, and I was actually just kind of looking at that right as you were saying that, so I appreciate that. And you're going to watch the correlation coefficient right there. It looks like it may have just been a scan or two, but there appears to be something just east of Greentown. That's in eastern Howard County. That's going to cross Swayze, Sweetser, and then Marion sits there. So Gas City is just south of here. So, I'm sorry, it's actually a little bit north of there, excuse me. But that's the general path that this may be starting to take. So now it may now start to take that more of a northeasterly track. But Converse is here. The area of interest is here. It may pass just south of you, but we don't want to be so sure. You're in the polygon. You should be in your safe place at this point in time. Continue to race very, very quickly off to the northeast. There's Van Buren and Warren. And I know John Tenney's family lives pretty close to here too, so I'm sure he's already let his folks know to take shelter. And I know we have our John and Zach have been out kind of chasing today, and I would not be surprised if Zach is actually on this storm. So I'm sure
Zach says he's headed to Huntington shortly, so he'll be able to kind of watch what this is doing too.
Awesome. That is awesome. And also real quick, Vicky, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Real quick, an update here too. Your inflow notch is going to be kind of coming. We kind of talked about this earlier, how sometimes your inflow doesn't always have to be on the front of the storm. This is kind of coming through on the back side, and your rotation is going to be right there. Okay, and again, we may have had a brief tornado touchdown just to the east of Greentown. Weather Service not going observed right now, but that doesn't mean anything. Okay, sometimes we see things on radar. It may just be a 1 or 2 scan thing, and then it's gone. When we talk about brief tornadoes, that's exactly what we mean. We're kind of getting to the point in the night now where those longer track type tornadoes are not really going to be a bigger issue for us. It's the damaging wind and these very brief type tornadoes where, again, it's there for a scan or two and then it's gone, just like that. But that's enough time to do a significant amount of damage for the area that it's hitting. So we're going to continue to monitor that for you very, very closely as we progress on through. Going back to velocity, reading a little bit more.
Kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying too, Nick, with some of these storms. I mean, granted, you're seeing them drop a tornado pretty quickly, but stressing how significant these wind speeds are too. I mean, we're not just seeing tornadic winds with just tornadoes. These are storms that are producing wind gusts upwards of 70 miles an hour on top of that as well.
We have a new tornado warning real quick too. This is going to be in effect now for Allen and Paulding County, so Fort Wayne. That's concerning. And actually, I know quite a few people that live in this area. So let's jump you right in here and let's take a look at velocity. I just got that, came across, right over downtown right now. You can see where the reds and greens are very close together right here.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a concern for me right there. So that's going to be crossing. That's Interstate 69 right there. And there's I-4 69 and 69. DuPont Hospital sits right up here. US 37 sits right behind me. It's actually relatively close to my family. And actually, the actual, okay, so it looks like they're going to warn the southern part of downtown. So there's US 27. Okay, so this is US 27 right here that goes down to the southeast. If you go south, it takes you to Decatur. 27 kind of takes you north into downtown here. Also, you've got Route 930. That's going to be Coliseum Boulevard. But Adrian, that's a pretty interesting circulation starting to pop up there right in between Fort Wayne and
Yeah.
New Haven.
Definitely, like you were saying, I kind of noticed right near Fort Wayne where I would have seen a little bit of that tire couplet signature, but obviously the National Weather Service saw something a little bit different out of that system. No matter what, I would say if you're in the Fort Wayne metro area, it's definitely a good idea to seek shelter anyway, because who knows if they do end up expanding that a little further northward or whatever will come of that warning too. But definitely starting to see this kind of transition into the state of Ohio, getting closer to that Ohio-Indiana border, which will start to impact, I'm sure, more and more people as it does so.
Yeah, real quick, let's go back over to velocity real quick, and I apologize. The radar kind of ran a little odd on me there for a second, but there's, okay, that might be down now. Let's go to correlation coefficient. On the south side of downtown, it does not show that it's down, but that velocity couplet is extremely,
Oh
extremely
yeah,
tight.
look at that.
Yeah, so that's so okay. So there's New Haven. Let me get my bearings straight here as well. Very familiar with this area, so that's one piece of good news to kind of help us. So these reds and greens are extremely tight here, and when we see this, again, that's not a very large couplet right there, but it is enough. So again, we have a tornado that could be down right now on the south side of Fort Wayne. That velocity couplet that's not too far from the old International factory there on the southeastern sides of the downtown. New Haven sits right here. It's a pretty populated area. This is Route 30, kind of takes you off to the east. And you've got 469 right here. If you get down here towards 30, there's a truck stop and a Taco Bell that sits right here. And inside that truck stop is a Cinnabon, just to kind of point that for some bearings. I kind of know this area pretty well now. That latest
There's
scene,
your little fun
again,
fact, your little lighthearted fun fact that
yeah,
sometimes you need though. So
sometimes you do. So, but again, right now we do think that a tornado is down. And Owen, I just want to, if you don't mind, since the fact, and I'm sure my family's probably already watching, but let's do kind of an updated push with the possibility of maybe two circulations coming through downtown Fort Wayne right now. Again, there's I-69 kind of on the north side. Okay, so that one doesn't look as strong. This one, though, on the other hand, definitely does. And we definitely need to be in our safe places if we are not already. A correlation coefficient does not show anything, but that is a really, really impressive signature. And that now really just jumped to the east there. So that's now moving up US 24. So that's going to move over here towards Woodburn. So you've got 101 that goes from Woodburn down to Monroeville. This is Route 24. This is a 4-lane highway here. Kind of a rural area, but we really should not have anybody driving out here right now across this area. Looks like they just updated that polygon a little bit as well. So we're going to continue to watch that as we continue to progress. Let's go back to velocity again. Let's see if maybe the correlation is updated. The good news is, Adriana, is I'm not seeing, well, that might be a little bit, might be a little bit delayed there, but I'm not seeing at least any real clear signs of debris at the present
yeah,
moment.
I on my end too, looking at kind of a different radar system, also not seeing that, but that velocity couplet is definitely really tight. So that would be something to kind of keep watching as runs come in a little bit quicker and quicker. We definitely will need to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, let's look at the gate-to-gate shear, the pixel-to-pixel wind change, if you will. And boy, that you're looking at 120 miles an hour on that. That would be concerning if there is a tornado. Now, again, the velocities are lagging behind there just a little bit, but our tornado warning continues for Antwerp and Payne. You're getting out here into some wind farms out here just to the south of Payne. This is US 30 that runs from New Haven. Then you've got Convoy not too far from here. This is the Ohio-Indiana state line right here. And you've got Indiana 101 and US 24 right there. So kind of giving you our bearings with kind of where we are. That's tornado warning number 1. That is not the only one that we have. We do have the second one down to the south here. Let's bounce back down to the Marion area just real quick. This one looks a little bit more disjointed, in my opinion. Does not show any kind of clear-cut signs, but Adriana, I do think, based on the velocity signature, there's some pretty strong and maybe damaging winds at the very least, kind of from Marion and points just to the north.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah. So that, I mean, yeah, Nick, as you were just saying, I've been kind of watching that, and just the difference in colors that you can see, like so vibrant things that obviously indicate some incredibly strong winds. And obviously, if we aren't seeing active tornadoes on the ground, these systems are still incredibly strong in the wind department. So it's definitely a good idea to make sure that we are taking this. And no matter if you're in a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning, it's a really good idea to make sure that you are at least staying away from the windows and finding kind of that innermost room in your house or your basement if you have that.
Yeah, most certainly. Real quick, I'm just going to kind of switch radar sources. But as we are doing this, there's a look at the latest reflectivity scan. And if we go back over to velocity, we continue to see some signs that now maybe this circulation is kind of jogged to the north a little bit. You can see the brighter yellows there now north of New Haven. We're back to the Fort Wayne circulation now. This is still really impressive. So again, US 24 and 469 is about the approximate location of that particular
Looks like we
tornado.
just got a report of 60-knot winds from Fort Wayne. So
Okay. Yeah, that's not too surprising at all, given the
right.
fact that we were kind of watching that area right before that tornado warning kind of popped up there. So that's not too surprising to kind of see that. Real quick, I'll go back to our main radar system there, and there we go. And we continue to watch this again. So we have 2 active tornado warnings, one for east central Allen County in Indiana and west central portions of Paulding County in Ohio. That's going to go until 12 o'clock in the morning. So we're going up to midnight there, moving east at 60 to 65. And then the existing tornado warning kind of down to the south here. This is going to include portions of Wabash, Huntington, Grant, Miami, and Wells until 11:45, another 7 minutes. I'm not as impressed with this circulation, in my opinion. Now, it's still valid. It's there. We have a warning, but obviously the better circulation is up here in Fort Wayne. We still have a couple severe thunderstorm warnings out there as well. So go back into Fort Wayne again, and if we continue to watch things here pretty close, looks like Mike Joyce might be hopping in here with us shortly as well. That would be awesome. Have both of our meteorologists on with us, but Adrian, I think that circulation, there's a lot, at least in the Fort Wayne spot, there's very strong reds in the showing. We're not seeing as much of the greens together,
Yeah.
but I
I
still
was
think,
noticing that as it's starting to move a little bit further, it looks like it is kind of losing that traditional couplet color, like you were saying, those reds and those greens kind of mixing in. So hopefully that means that this storm is weakening as it continues into northwest Ohio.
yeah, and let's hope that it does continue to weaken. But I will tell you that, the overall look at this, again, we might be seeing, again, another little bit of a comet head feature trying to get going here. And again, this is not the first time we've seen this tonight, but maybe a little bit of an inflow notch just outside the warning polygon there, and maybe a little bit of a rear inflow notch kind of coming on the backside there to the north of New Haven. I do think that the overall tornado threat has went down just a little bit, but our damaging wind threat still exists. We obviously still have a tornado warning in effect. I will say at this point, downtown Fort Wayne, we can give you an all clear, just to kind of let you know that the circulation is kind of passed now east of town, kind of east of the outer belt there of 469. Again, there's New Haven up here to Woodburn. You've also got a couple other smaller communities, like you've got Tillman that's out here as well. Monroeville and Hoagland are down to the south here. I used to go to school out there, but they're not quite in the tornado warning at this point in time. Going back down to the south here, again, this is our original tornado warning. Still, you can see just an overall broad type of circulation, even just on the reflectivity side of things. Not seeing anything overly tight or anything impressive here, but still likely a risk of damaging wind. That's kind of riding very close to that tornado warning polygon there on the south side. So we're just going to watch that closely and see how that progresses here kind of over the next several minutes. So just something to kind of bear in mind with us. And it looks like, is that Mike that just joined?
Yeah. That little noise.
Yeah, it is. I heard that too. So, hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good, good. I've been trying to keep an eye on things pretty much all day, and I can see that it's about our turn, isn't it?
And it sure is. So, just kind of get everybody up to speed. We have meteorologist Mike Joyce. We have meteorologist Adriana Michaels. I'm forecaster Nick Dunn. We're tracking multiple tornado warnings right now across northeastern Indiana. Again, it looks like our circulation here in Fort Wayne has kind of dissipated just a little bit, and so does our circulation here into portions of Grant County. But again, just because they've weakened, we've seen this a couple different times tonight where they'll pulse down and then they'll pulse right back up. So just something just to kind of bear in mind with this. We've seen that a couple times tonight, but Adriana, I don't think we have a tornado on the ground based on anything that I can see at the present moment.
Yeah, definitely not seeing those signatures as prominent as they were before, at least.
Yeah, and then Mike, I don't know which storm you are in particular looking at, but we're kind of watching this Fort Wayne storm, and overall, this is really impressive. We're going on midnight. We have not had a lot of sun today, Mike, but we've got just enough energy and wind shear aloft for these storms to continue to remain rather intense.
Exactly, and that was kind of one of my thoughts is, existing here in central Ohio today, it doesn't feel like your typical enhanced risk day with the clouds, temperatures teetering right around 58, 60 degrees, dew points right around there, low to mid 50s at most. It feels just like a normal March day, and I think that's one reason to let guard down a little, but it certainly isn't. This has been a nearly historic night. I mean, once we see and add everything up, and the National Weather Service does all its surveys, we'll see what happened. But this has been a scary day across the country, and now it is firmly in the our coverage area. And yeah, that Fort Wayne storm. Not long ago, right before I got on here, I did see that tight circulation just inside the 469 loop there, if I'm correct. And I believe they're kind of continuing it off to the east here, kind of like if I'm right, an east-northeasterly direction.
Yeah, and real quick, they also just issued a new tornado warning too, and I saw John may have just seen a
Oh
possible
yeah,
power
that
flash
couple
down
kind
there.
of,
Yeah, they
yeah,
just
as you
issued.
were
Yeah, go ahead,
mentioning, they
Adriana.
kind of going back and forth all day, like everything kind of weakens for a second and a new one pops right back up. So this is that one we were watching earlier. It kind of didn't look like anything for a little bit and it just redeveloped. So Nick, go ahead and do the details on that.
Yeah, and so real quick too, a new tornado warning in effect now for northeastern Allen County into Defiance County, northwestern Paulding County until 12:15. And that is moving off to the east-northeast right now at speeds upwards of 70 miles per hour, which that storm motion continues to scare me just from the simple fact that again, when we're moving that particular quick and that fast, that means that the storms are probably producing winds at least very close to that magnitude. So we definitely need to be in our tornado-safe shelters, and again, that means we need to get below ground, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And that also means we need to make sure we're putting on our bicycle helmets, right? Our football helmets, baseball helmets, something of that magnitude. Make sure that you're getting to that safe place. If you don't have a basement, small interior room, hallway, bathroom, closet, make sure you're putting the same type of protection for your children. And also don't forget your four-legged friends. Take them to your shelters with you as well this evening. Don't let them out and don't let them kind of wander around. Kind of take them with you into your safe place. I'm not sure if Owen wants to bring John in. I know he said he may have seen a power flash on that southern tornado warned storm there towards Huntington. I know he's not too far from that area, so we'll see if maybe we can try to get him in shortly. I'll leave that up to Owen and see what he wants to do with that. But we've got 3 active tornado warnings, okay? The southern one here includes portions of Wabash, Huntington, Wells, Grant, portions of Howard and Miami counties. I will say this one again continues to be the least organized, but we still have an active warning, so nevertheless, we need to be in our safe place. That's crossing I-69 right now. Nobody should be driving on I-69. If you're coming up out of Indianapolis, just wait a little bit and let this storm particularly pass before you kind of move on through. An existing tornado warning for East Central Allen, West Central Paulding until 12 o'clock. And then we also have, and again, that newer tornado warning up there to the north. Let's go over to base velocity here, if we can get that to pop up. And yeah, wow, that's signature to the northeast there, Fort Wayne. I'm not seeing a strong tornado signature, guys, but I do think we're seeing at least some very strong straight line damaging winds potentially with that. But obviously, given the history of that storm, new tornado warning was definitely required.
Yeah, I agree. And I know a lot of people are kind of wondering what the update is on Ohio. So if you're watching from Ohio, just know um, there is a tornado watch until 5 o'clock this morning. We'll kind of get there as these storms also move into. And I think we just had someone new join us.
Yeah, I
as
think
well.
that was John. Was that you?
It is me.
Hey, what you got for us? Yeah, go ahead, John. All right,
Yes, I'm in here.
Yep, go ahead. What you got for us?
Yeah, I was looking at the traffic cams there in Warren and saw what appeared just a very bright flash. Now, I'm not sure if that's from damaging winds or a possible tornado. I know that circulation does not look nearly as strong, but that's going to be coming right over my house. Folks need to be in a safe place. If they are in the path of this storm, though, it still looks like it is producing quite a bit of wind damage, potentially.
Yeah, most certainly. And real quick, not to kind of forget about the severe thunderstorm warnings, but real quick, we're now seeing severe thunderstorm warnings all the way down past the Indianapolis metro, including Muncie and areas down to the south as well. So this is kind of becoming a very intense squall line. And again, the main threat, damaging winds and a few isolated brief tornadoes are not out of the question. Again, anytime we have the squall line, Mike, anytime we see lines like this, you can get a very brief spin up, and sometimes it happens right in between radar scans, and sometimes the radar misses it.
Yeah, and that's one of the big dangers with these squall line tornadoes. In the weather world, we call them QLCS, just a fancy acronym there. But this is the part of the country where this happens frequently. The type of tornadoes we get are often embedded in these fast-moving lines of severe thunderstorms, and there's a couple keys to it. The one is that it's widespread. This is going to affect a lot of people. We're talking the whole state line of Ohio as this is crossing through, nearly the entire state of Indiana. That is a very large geographic area and a lot of people that covers all the way from Evansville to Indy to Gary, Indiana to Fort Wayne, South Bend, everywhere in between. And now, Ohio being very populated itself, we have right along the state line there, and now that we have that tornado warning up in Paulding and Defiance County, that's a big deal. Another thing I've noticed here, just kind of looking at the surface map, temperatures and dew points are pretty marginal for severe weather, but I'm starting to see the wind start to back out of the southeast a little bit, and that's happening ahead of this line in places like Columbus. I'm seeing it ever so slightly, maybe down by Circleville. So we're talking about 100 miles still ahead of this, and that southeasterly curve just shows how much, there's so much twisting in the atmosphere right now. What's helping us? Not a lot of sun, like Nick said earlier. That's keeping this from being a violent outbreak for Ohio, but it's still a very dangerous situation because just enough of that wind energy is there. We have a lot of straight line wind energy, and we even have enough twist that one or two of those spin ups can happen. So this is something we've got to watch. And if you're not in Western Ohio, you're in Central, Northeast Ohio, you still have to watch out. This is going to be a long night.
Yeah, it definitely is. And real quick, a good point from Owen. Right now, we see places like Defiance and Bryan are not in a tornado watch, but we have a tornado warning here. We always tell you that if you are in or even close to that watch area, you've got to be ready to take shelter. So again, right now, 2 areas of interest, and by the way, that southern tornado warning has been allowed to expire for southern Huntington and Marion. So now we're going to kind of focus strictly here on Defiance and Paulding and Allen counties, not to be remiss. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Sorry to interrupt, but the circulation near Van Buren is starting to ramp back up. I just as a course of least regret, I would stay in my tornado safe place until that passes.
And that's a good point because they do have those tagged as tornado possible. So Bluffton, Decatur, Bern, Portland, Hartford City, we have a tornado possible, severe thunderstorm warning. So let's just kind of stay in our safe place, get to that tornado safe place just in case a brief spin up were to kind of pop up. But real quick, let's go back into our tornado warnings. This is kind of riding right up the US 24 corridor. So again, you've got Woodburn, Antwerp, Cecil, Sherwood, Defiance, you're right on the edge of the polygon. I just, again, as a course of least regret, just like John had just said, you're very close, but you're not quite in, at least the entire city. But if you have a Defiance address, just go ahead and take shelter in it. We've also got Ney and Hicksville. You have one storm here near Hicksville that has kind of tried to disjoint itself a little bit from the main line. And we saw this a little earlier with the storm back towards Monticello. Sometimes when these storms kind of disjoint off like this a little bit, they can kind of have their own environment and produce a little bit of a brief spin up. And then also down here towards Antwerp. Let's go back to velocity again and see if anything has kind of changed a little bit. But that's our next area of concern there towards places like Antwerp and Payne. And the good news is any rotation that is here is relatively broad in my opinion. I'm not seeing anything concrete or discrete that would tell us we have a tornado on the ground or anything like that. I know that we're also kind of waiting to see what kind of storm reports. The good news is too, correlation coefficient is clean, and that's good. So we're not seeing any signs of debris being picked up. Might be some signs of maybe some hail trying to be indicated, but again, we're looking kind of high up on the radar beam if you're looking for hail, at least in that particular circumstance. So real quick to get our bearing straight, okay, here's US 24 that runs from Defiance to Fort Wayne. Here's US 127 that runs from Van Wert up to Sherwood and then eventually up to Bryan. So we're kind of where those two crossroads kind of come together here at 127 and 24 just for kind of a geographical reference. But again, Hicksville, your time is up. You should have already been in your safe place. Ney, Sherwood, Defiance, you've probably got 5 to 10 minutes tops. and then this is going to start to encroach on your communities. Real quick as a note too, Paulding, you are not in the tornado warning, but we'll see if they're going to issue a new one here shortly for you. We'll wait and see what they're going to do with that. There's also not a, I guess there actually is a severe thunderstorm warning now for Paulding. I would not be surprised though if they went ahead and changed that. Again, seeing just a little bit right there near Antwerp, maybe another small comet head feature trying to develop. And now in the latest scan, it comes to maybe just a little bit less organized there, but that's going to ride right up the 24 corridor. And the other thing too, Mike and Adriana, that I'm noticing is we're still seeing this northeast movement with most of these tornado warnings, but the storm as a whole continues to kind of move east.
Yeah, exactly. This is, I don't know, quite a. I'm trying to. Yeah, okay, there it is. Sorry, my radar view kind of got messed up a little bit.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so we certainly have that pretty impressive looking couplet right there, just south of Hicksville, right along Route 18, and that is kind of what we're looking at here, at least for the next. I don't know. Well, Nick, sorry, what was the expiration time on this tornado warning?
The one for Defiance got till 12:15, and the one for Paulding County is 12 o'clock here. So, and I really think at this point, Allen County, Indiana, you're in the clear at this point. This is more of a Defiance and Paulding County problem, I think.
Yeah, I would agree too. It's those two circulations here, that Antwerp one, and then of course the one south of Hicksville as well. So. And like Nick said earlier, we still do have what is more widespread right now. We have these two areas of rotation, but also the more widespread straight line, the straight line wind damage potential. All the way, this has been marching across the Midwest here and really hasn't calmed down a whole lot, despite the lack of sunshine that we've had today. We have severe thunderstorms warnings stretching all the way from Greensburg, Indiana, all the way up to the Ohio-Michigan line. I mean, we're talking over 200 miles of widespread wind damage possible. So no matter where you are, especially right along the Ohio-Indiana state line, you are going to need to be quite concerned about this. You know, at least have your safe spot in mind and away from windows, and at least a backup plan if your power goes out, making sure your phone is charged. And I just got a new scan back on that north end where we have our tornado warnings. Yeah, it looks like that circulation now marching just east of Hicksville on the north one, and that other one just east of Antwerp now, Nick. I'm not sure if that's what you're seeing, but that's kind of what I see now.
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing those exact same things. Again, as you can kind of see the radar in motion where it kind of came through the Fort Wayne metro area. And again, we are kind of waiting on some reports. I know that there was, a pretty decent wind gust there at the airport. But as you kind of see, this is moving now again more into Defiance and Paulding County. Fort Wayne, especially the south side, we still got some heavy rain and gusty winds to go through. But real quick, John, I know your family's there in Warren. Have you heard any reports of anything? Are you still with us? Okay, John may not be, and that's perfectly fine. So hopefully we'll make sure that he's okay, and we'll get him back if we need to. But this is kind of what we're watching.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm here. I was texting my wife.
Okay.
If you're in the Warren area, the circulation's east now. It would appear any threat to life and property is to the east. You can go ahead and go back to bed in Warren. But yeah, I was just texting her to let her know she could go ahead and go back to bed. She's got to get up early for work.
Yeah, and I see exactly what you're talking about.
I have not heard anything from them in terms of anything that might have happened at the house.
Well, we hope that everything's
okay. So I'll count
okay.
it as good news.
Yeah, we'll hope that that's definitely good news for sure. And real quick, too, we are seeing, and I kind of see where John's talking about there, just to the west of Montpelier there. That's kind of right on the Wells and Hartford County line there, just to the south of Warren. Severe thunderstorm warning continues here. Winds upwards of 70 miles per hour. But I do want to point out here, too, see these brighter colors? Those are 60 and 70 type mile per hour winds. Those have kind of turned more lighter green, so that might be a sign that the winds are starting to weaken just a little bit. But we still don't want you to take this situation lightly whatsoever. And I apologize that we're kind of having to switch back and forth here, kind of in between a couple of different programs. But we are down now just to one tornado warning, and that is going to be for Hicksville, Defiance, and Sherwood up here towards Farmer. So we go back to reflectivity. And And Adriana, I'm not seeing a whole lot. I definitely think this continues to look a
Yeah, I
little
was
bit more
just about to chime
disjointed.
in. So I obviously live in the Dayton area. I just got an alert actually that says that there's lightning detected. Hearing the thunder now too. So
Yeah.
definitely starting to see this kind of transition into the state of Ohio. I know down towards the Cincinnati area, it's been raining for a little bit of time as well. Lots of people, I've been checking the comments on Facebook. A lot of people are wondering kind of what the timing is on this. And Nick, I know you have the radar. You're able
Yep.
to kind of time things out for us. So
Yep.
if
Let's
people
do
are
that.
watching and they're in Dayton, maybe central Ohio, kind of wondering when to expect things, I know all day we have been sharing when to expect it, but could you kind of give us a breakdown on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just we'll update the track here. So we'll kind of over the next hour, let's kind of look at this whole line and kind of see where it's projected to go. We'll move it east at we'll go 70 just to kind of be on the safe side of things. It might be a little fast, but there's kind of an approximate timeline for you of kind of what to expect and when to expect it. So we're talking Richmond, Indiana, just after the midnight hour. Lima at about 12:23. It looks like we move those tracks over just a little bit. I'll move them up so we can kind of see everything a little bit. I apologize about that. But real quick, Lima 12:23. We're looking at Pickwood about 12:30. Bowling Green a little after 12:30 there as well. Toledo, yeah, Toledo. Believe it or not, you guys are next in line. This is moving that quick, okay? So we're talking about the I-75 corridor here shortly. Troy at about 12:36. Dayton at 12:41. Moving into Kettering and Fairborn right around 12:45. So that's kind of our current timing and kind of where things are currently standing, and we're going to continue to watch this very closely. But again, these fast storm motions can sometimes make it a little bit difficult to get an exact timing. But that's just kind of an overall broad brush look at things. I gave you as much extra lead time as I possibly could there. They didn't really track the line right at the beginning, but we want to give you plenty of extra heads up. And again, if you're about to head to bed real quick, just a real quick reminder, you can download our app. It's down there in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. You can get it there. You can turn that up, make sure your wireless emergency alerts are on, your weather radio's on, multiple methods to receive warnings, and you'll be good to go as we continue to move through the overnight. So that's kind of an updated look at the timing.
That's thank you for doing that too,
Yeah.
Nick. I know a lot of people were kind of wondering, and then I'm watching that cell just south of Indianapolis. It looks like there's a pretty decent hail signature with that. I know it's kind of moved, not technically completely in our area, but a lot of people are watching from that area. Could you go into that too?
Where was that again? I'm sorry.
Just south of Indianapolis. There's
Yeah.
a teeny tiny little tornado warning that has been kind of like the little tornado warning that could, I feel like, but I don't know if that's still showing up on your end, but I'm seeing it on mine at least.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing that as well. So the little tornado warning that's actually a great description because this was originally a supercell that was all by itself in its own environment, and finally the line has kind of caught up to it. But again, one of those situations where we have a rear inflow notch coming on the back side. So if you're in Morristown and points east, if you're trying to look back west, you're not going to see much of anything at all. It's rain wrapped. If you're and when I say that, you're way out ahead, so you're not going to see much.
You guys can hear the thunder at my house, but it's starting to get a little loud.
Yeah, I just heard that.
Snuggle, so
yeah. I just heard that. So that's kind of one thing too, as you guys are working across and you're listening to us here, you might hear the storms kind of impact our specific locations too. But this tornado warning here, I will say the overall hail signature continues to decrease as that line is kind of absorbing that particular supercell. But again, transitioning to more of a damaging wind threat. And this is now getting, again, for the southern part of the line. So again, we're talking Richmond here. Probably within the next 30 minutes, it'll be coming on your doorstep. And Mike, the storm motions continue to move very, very quick. And it's worth noting that, we just showed a little bit ago, it's going to be to I-75 before 1 o'clock. And then, Columbus, if these storm speeds continue, easily 2 o'clock for the US 23 corridor, more than likely.
Yeah, that's generally what the timing has been with the model data throughout the day today, which has been pretty consistent. We like consistency, and that helps us, nail down our timing. And these storms are hauling. I remember back when these storms were impacting Chicago with 90-mile-per-hour potential straight-line wind gusts. We're hauling at about 65 miles per hour, and the storms really haven't lost a whole lot of forward motion. So that's why, yes, if you're in Ohio, most of Ohio, other than Defiance County, not being impacted, well, I should say Defiance, Williams, and Fulton impacted by a severe thunderstorm warning. But, Richmond, it's on your doorstep. And then it's going to, once it gets into Ohio, Dayton, Dayton, you're there pretty much within the next, 45 minutes to an hour. Columbus, closer to 2 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be fast. So stick with us. If you're, let's say, in the I-71 corridor from Columbus to maybe even north central Ohio, you can have a couple hours, maybe take a nap, have the app that we have our Bell Park weather app ready, or any other way to receive notifications, and you be prepared to wake up and go to your safe spot. Because even though we're starting to see this trending to generally be a straight line wind event, we do have enough spin in the atmosphere that a quick tornado could spin up, and we need to be very well aware of that. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And I did see, just looking at some radar just south of Newcastle, Indiana, I did see what looked like a little hook. This latest scan I got, it seemed to dial back a little bit. Let me take a look on. Yeah, velocity doesn't show much either, but on reflectivity, which is our measure of rain rate, there was a little hook there for like one scan. Seemed to kind of die down, but again, it's one of those situations where you could have something spin up really quick, and it just happens so fast that even the radar doesn't catch it. So that's something we really have to be mindful throughout this evening.
Yeah, we really do. And the good news is, again, we're down to one tornado warning, and that storm there near Defiance continues to look a little more disjointed with each and every scan. But as Mike said, we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning up here for parts of Williams County, Defiance County, and even into portions of Fulton County. And that does clip Henry County as well. So we continue to monitor that. Down the line here towards Fort Wayne, we continue to see, you can see some of the storm reports starting to come in of some hail and some gusty winds. Thankfully, no significant reports of damage so far. Sometimes those take a little bit to come in. But this overall part of the line now from south of Fort Wayne down to Bluffton, and then down here to Hartford City and towards Portland, it continues to look impressive. That's probably where we're seeing the strongest wind right now. In my personal opinion, it's probably where we're seeing the potential is highest, right, for those damaging winds to continue. For those of you that are, as Adriana kind of said there, in the Dayton area, starting to see some general thunderstorms popping up, but those are not severe. You see a quick downpour, and then that will kind of move on through. And the good news is that little tornado warning that has finally expired and just went to a regular severe thunderstorm warning, so that's good. But again, we continue to see this transitioning to a damaging wind threat. But again, we've seen it so many times tonight already, where this line of storms will see these little kinks in the line, or as Owen calls them, phalanges will kind of pop up. And once that happens, you can get a brief spin up. And as we've seen, sometimes these brief spin ups can last, off and on for, 15, 30 minutes at a time. But then as you're starting to see, things become a little more disjointed. So in that tornado warning, I believe, expires here at 12:15, and it does. And I do expect that to expire on time, if not ahead of time. So we're going to continue to monitor that very closely. Again, if you're just now tuning in, meteorologist Adriana Michaels, meteorologist Mike Joyce, I'm forecaster Nick Dunn. We are tracking severe weather moving into western Ohio. That includes the Miami Valley here shortly. A new severe thunderstorm warning just issued now for all of Van Wert County, all of Allen County, and the southern portion of Putnam County now to portions of northwestern Ohio. Okay, now they've actually went ahead and moved this to considerable with a tornado possible tag and winds up to 70 miles per hour. And again, guys, remember, tornado possible, that just means that there's at least some evidence of a brief tornado possible, but there's nothing concrete right now to go ahead and trigger that tornado warning. So if you are in places like Lima and Van Wert and southern portions of Putnam County, we do need to kind of be in our safe place. This is a pretty nasty looking line getting ready to kind of move on through there. And guys, Adriana, what are you seeing there? That looks really intense. And again, these damaging winds will continue. Now we're getting later into the night. More folks are in bed. So some folks are going to get awakened here pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, we appreciate all 1,300 of you guys that are tuning in and watching as well. I think, as Nick was mentioning, although some of these severe thunderstorms are issued and they're not tornado warnings, they're still very strong storms. We're seeing winds being, as Mike mentioned earlier, there was a few warnings that went out near the Chicago area with straight line winds up to 90 miles an hour, and that is a very intense storm system. So even if you're just under that severe thunderstorm warning, it's definitely a good idea to kind of remember where that safe spot is. It's always the lowest level of your home. If you have a basement, obviously opt for that. Otherwise, I live in a ranch home, and I was kind of like, okay, as the meteorologist in me, where do we go? Always the kind of put as many walls between you and the outside is what we like to say, and any room that doesn't have windows. So we landed on the hall bathroom for us, but kind of keeping that go bag there. We have the dog's leash and her harness. We have pillows, we have blankets, helmets, shoes, because sometimes people forget to grab those in situations
Definitely.
like this too. So just kind of have that ready to go, just in case these storms do become tornado warned, or even now if you want to be there, just to have that extra kind of comfort level. I know a lot of people do have some storm anxiety, especially heading into the Miami Valley area and some of our other counties as well.
Yeah, and real quick, we have another new severe thunderstorm. They went ahead and tagged considerable again for Defiance, Paulding, Henry, Fulton, and Putnam counties. Let's get you an updated track on the northern end of this line. Again, I'm going to track it again a little closer to 60 to 70 just to kind of give us that extra advanced notice, if you will. But here's an updated track on the timing for you. So again, we're kind of talking about Wauseon at 12:11, Van Wert 12:15, Delphus 12:23, Bowling Green 12:33, Toledo 12:36. That has been very consistent, and Findlay at about 12:40. So that's kind of an updated timing on the northern end of the line. Let's drop south a little bit. So again, those of you kind of into the Dayton area, we'll get you an updated track. We'll see if I can get you guys to kind of be in the cone here, so to speak. Yeah, we can get you in there. Kind of tracking things off here towards the east. So Connorsville, right? So we're talking about 12:21 for you. Moving into Greenville at 12:31. Lima 12:45. Inglewood 12:51. Dayton right around 1 o'clock. Appears to be a pretty good time for you. Same goes for really Miamisburg 12:58. Huber Heights 12:58. So right around that 1 o'clock time frame right now for those of you in the Dayton area looks very consistent. And then I don't expect that to change very much. Some additional warnings are kind of being replaced here on the southern end. And now they're kind of going with a blanket 70-mile-per-hour wind for the entire line. It's been a little while since we've seen a squall line with that kind of wording up and down the entire line like that. But again, we've kind of talked about this a few different times tonight, how it is just really important that you've got multiple methods to receive warnings. And when you receive a warning, 70-mile-per-hour winds can do a lot of damage. Let's not forget our grounds are saturated. So, and it's not going to take a lot, as Mike has alluded to, even though we didn't get a lot of sun today, it's not going to take a lot of energy to bring these winds down on the ground. And Mike, you kind of talked about that a little earlier today, and I expect that trend to continue. I really don't even see this line just wants to kind of continue along. I'm not seeing any signs of weakening, at least here in the short term.
Yeah, not only that, but some of the warmest air of the day. Well,
Yeah.
I guess it's the new day now. It's 12:08 a.m. But some of the warmest air of the day is occurring right now. Right now I see 62 coming out of the Dayton International Airport, Findlay, Ohio at 62, 59 at Columbus, John Glenn. So these temperatures are the warmest of the day. So I guess that indicates that we still have some thermal energy, but also that wind energy is really the key driver here. A ton of shear, meaning the wind is blowing at different directions all the way up through the atmosphere, especially at that low level. And like Nick said, if we can transfer any of that wind down to the surface, we're going to continue this straight line wind threat that is now pushing its way into the northern I-75 corridor from Lima pretty much to Toledo. I mean, Lucas County is not in the severe thunderstorm warning, but at this point, it's moving so fast, you might as well consider yourself in it if you're in either Wood County from Bowling Green all the way up to Toledo and Lucas County. And then, yeah, from Lima to Dayton, that stretch of 75 within the hour. So you don't really have a whole lot of time. And then the Cincinnati Metro. Cincinnati Metro's already heard thunder today a couple times in some spots. So we're almost looking at our third round of thunderstorms within the last 6 hours or so. So still not time to let our guard down down in the Queen City as well. And we still do have that tornado warning just a hair southwest of Richmond, Indiana. So that's something we're still watching there as well.
Yeah, the one for Defiance County's gone now too, so that's good. So
Good,
we're now
good, yes.
we are tornado warning free as it stands right now. But real quick, I do expect a new warning shortly. Just to kind of point this out, I do expect a new warning from Mercer County, Darke County, Allglaze, and Shelby, and even down and maybe into northern Miami County as well as these storms continue to race, and also Wayne County too. We should see a warning pretty shortly for you, and that's going to be our next round of warnings. So again, we get to I-75 by about 1 o'clock in the morning roughly based on current timing, and we should be to US 23 somewhere in that 2 o'clock time frame. And I do expect, unless you guys disagree, I do expect a slow weakening trend. This is a very strong low pressure system, and then we have the high winds of tomorrow yet to deal with too. This is kind of a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I definitely watching. I don't know am I just seeing it on my end? But I do see a tornado warning right now just outside of Wayne County, Indiana, sitting.
Oh,
It
you know what?
might
They
just be
did issue
mine.
another one. Okay. Yeah, they
Okay,
did.
I was gonna
Yep.
say it might just be mine's not loading yet, but I just wanted to make sure that there you go. You do have it on yours now, Nick, too.
Yep.
So
There it
the
is.
details on that, we'll listen to you for that.
Yeah, let's take a closer look at that. So those of you into the western Miami Valley, right? So we're kind of talking those right around the Richmond area. We do need to kind of be prepared here because there's a tornado warning in effect now. I will say we're looking right on the edge of the radar beam from Wilmington, so it's not a great read. I'll switch over to
Yeah, I
Indianapolis here
switched
shortly.
to Indies, and it definitely has a little couplet associated with it. It doesn't look like it's as strong as some of the other ones we've seen, but obviously a tornado warning is a tornado warning, and it should be taken seriously no matter what, too. So
Yep, and there's our severe thunderstorm warning now for southwestern Darke County, western Preble County,
Yep.
northwestern Butler County, Wayne County, Fayette, Union, and Franklin counties in southeastern Indiana. Now, this one is a 60 mph. I'm sorry, that one is 70, excuse me, until 1 o'clock in the morning. Moving northeast at 70. It is not tagged tornado possible, but as Adriana was saying, let's take a little bit closer look at that tornado warning there north of Rushville. Not quite into the area just yet, but it is worth noting that not seeing anything overly organized, but if there was, it's going to be right there just to the north of Rushville. That might kind of graze areas just to the north of Connorsville. It should likely impact more like Cambridge City, Boston, and Richmond here in just the next little while. So something just to kind of continue to bear in mind with us. I know we still got a lot of folks watching, and we really appreciate you guys joining in here this evening. We're going to kind of stick with this here for a little bit now. Real quick, too, those of you across the Miami Valley, Dayton, what's moving through right now, just want to kind of point out, is not severe, okay? This is just some general shower and thunderstorm activity. Xenia, nothing really severe for you right now either. But this, what would be interesting to see is does this activity kind of dampen the main line back to the west? That'll be something
you
to kind
might
of
have
watch.
spoken too soon. What did I just get a severe thunderstorm warning for? Let me look.
Yeah, it's gonna be. We got Mercer, Auglaize, Shelby, Miami, and Darke, and they have that one for. Okay, so
Yep.
they are throwing a hail threat in this one now for penny-sized hail. So that's just below
Yeah.
severe criteria, but that's the first we've seen of any signs of really any hail. Really, I've not seen too many reports of hail, at least in the most recent term. But kind of zooming this out now, kind of full picture for you. We now have an unbroken line of severe thunderstorm warnings from the Ohio and Michigan border all the way down to southeastern Indiana. And again, really, really impressive line of storms continues. 60 to 70 mph winds. We know a lot of you are probably in bed right now or you're waking up wondering what in the world's going on. It's April 1st. It's April Fool's Day. No fooling around here. We do have a line of strong to severe storms working across the region this morning very early. The good news is right now in our immediate area, no tornado warnings. We are watching one just southwest of Richmond. And we're going to continue to watch and see what they elect to do with that one. I've not seen, I know Owen would tell us right away from the Weather Service chat if they're going to go ahead and issue a tornado warning on that. I know the one for Defiance County up here is still blinking, and I apologize about that. Sometimes when they expire those, they're not parsed out correctly. And so I'm not sure what's going on with that one. They may just not have parsed it out correctly, and sometimes it takes a little bit to drop off. But in the next 30 seconds, that'll be gone as that one was set to expire there at 12:15. So again, now we're starting to move into more of western Ohio, some higher population areas, Van Wert, Lima, Salina, Wapakoneta, Waynesfield, St. Mary's, down to Shelby, northern, we're talking about Piqua as well, Darke County, Greenville. So really not surprised. And Mike, they've put these warnings way east in advance just because of how fast they're moving, but also we kind of talked about a lot of folks are in bed. We got to get them an early heads up.
Absolutely. That is one of the key dangers with nighttime severe weather is not many people are paying attention, and that's pretty reasonable. Many of us have to get up for work in the morning, keep our sleep schedules, that sort of thing. But this is really, really where we push people to have that way to wake up and get ahead of the storm. And that's, again, why Nick just said, that's why we have these long lead times is we almost need to. We got to get people out of bed, conscious of what's going on, and then being able to react and then head toward a safe spot. So that's, I think, one reason why the National Weather Service is giving us this lead time. And two, there's just the high confidence of severe weather in these spots. So yeah, with now, what do we have in the Miami Valley? We have Mercer, Auglaize, Shelby, Darke, northern Miami, Preble, even a portion of far western Butler counties, which includes Oxford, so Miami University there. in this warning. So a lot of folks at Miami University, of course, it's Friday night. A lot of students still awake, but some may not be. So it's a major population center this time of year, getting close to the end of the school year. So something to think about as well. Maybe you have somebody attending school there, or if you know people. Let's say you live in another part of our viewing area and you know people in the Miami Valley. Let them know. Give them a call. Like this is the type of situation where the potential for damage is so widespread. We want to make sure as many people know as possible. That's kind of the key with this one. And this could even continue into some more populated areas like Cincinnati and Columbus as well over the next hour, maybe a little about an hour and a half for the Columbus metro as well.
Yeah,
So,
you just
we're
spoke
not out of
about
the woods just
Cincinnati
yet.
there, Mike, and they just actually issued a severe thunderstorm warning just to the west of
Ah,
Cincinnati now. So for
yes, they
60
did.
mile per hour winds. So now I will say this is not associated with kind of the bigger line here, right? This is kind of something a little, I don't want to call it separate per se, but it is kind of away from the main line a little bit. But this will kind of be coming into downtown Cincinnati shortly, so just kind of an early heads up to you. Obviously, it is Saturday morning, so hopefully a lot of folks won't have to go to work first thing in the morning, and perhaps you're just staying up late with us and then hanging out and chilling. We appreciate that. Let's get you a quick recap of warnings, top to bottom, north to south, just to kind of update everybody, kind of blanket across the board. Northwestern Williams County are kind of in your own warning till 12:45. Williams, Defiance, Fulton, and Henry County. There's a line segment kind of riding the Ohio Turnpike right now, about to come right into Wassian. That also will be including a couple of areas kind of there north of Napoleon. That warning goes until 12:45, moving northeast at 70. The next warning down the line, Defiance, Fulton, Paulding, and Putnam until 1 o'clock. Tornado possible tag there, so make sure we're in our safe place. Winds up to 70. Moving down the line, the next one, this one I think is probably the most intense in my opinion right now, and along with the one for Salina and Wapakoneta, but also for Van Wert and Lima. Warning goes until 1 o'clock. 70 mile per hour winds, tornado possible tag again. Just make sure we're in that safe place and we're staying there until these warnings expire, just to be on the safe side. Again, not seeing any clear-cut signs of rotation, but again, right on the leading edge. It just takes one or two radar scans. Sometimes you can get a very quick spike in that velocity, and sometimes you get maybe even just a very quick spin of tornadoes. So working down the line, Salina, Wapakoneta, severe thunderstorm until 1:15. Also working for Adams and Jay County till 12:30. Again, all these are 70 mile per hour warned storms with that tornado possible tag. Dayton, again, right now, no warning for you in the immediate Dayton area. This is all kind of north and west for right now, but the line continues to evolve. And Adrian, I do think kind of the southern end of this line, they're kind of southwest of Richmond. While that tornado warning has kind of expired, that line's still holding together very well, and just overall remaining relatively impressive. But I know you got a lot of folks there in the Dayton area, but the good news is right now nothing severe, but don't want to let your guard down just yet.
Yeah, so we were seeing, I mean, I keep trying to check those comments every so often just to see what people are asking for. Obviously, we're touching base on a lot of their locations, but people are kind of complaining about how their tornado sirens aren't going off in areas that are tornado warned. We always want to stress the importance of they are unreliable. So and some people aren't even able to hear them at their houses too. So if you are, again, heading to bed, as Mike was kind of mentioning, it's that almost middle of the night for a lot. I'm like kind of getting sleepy too, but it's that middle of the night for a lot of us. If you're heading to bed soon or planning to do so, and you have those storms on the way, don't think that you're going to hear those tornado sirens. They're going to wake you up. You'll need to have other ways to obviously get some warnings in. Our app is a great resource. Nick was mentioning, I mean, it's too late now, but it's maybe for the next round of spring storms to get one of those weather radios, or just stay up
Absolutely.
tonight so you're able to keep an eye on this system as it moves in.
Yeah, here's an updated look on timing for you as well. So we're kind of talking about Richmond at 12:32, Inglewood 12:58, Pickle 1 o'clock, Miamisburg right around 1 o'clock, Dayton same thing for you. And this is kind of tracking the southern end of the line, assuming that it keeps the same speed and the same strength, which all indications are right now. That's going to likely continue based on our kind of, at least in the short term, to about the I-75 corridor. I know Wilmington is kind of questioning how much further east past that things go because the environment is at least a little bit more stable. But again, we've got a lot of wind energy aloft, and that could be enough to continue at least a lower end damaging wind here shortly. So real quick also, Vandalia 103, looking at Huber Heights there at 108, and we'll take you up to the northern side of the Miami Valley as well. Actually, let's do the Cincinnati storm first, since that was kind of our newer one. We'll kind of track that a little bit too fast. So there we go. So we're looking at Cincinnati roughly about 1 o'clock. So again, roughly that I-75 corridor, 1 o'clock. If you live from Toledo to Cincinnati, ballpark 10 or 15 minutes, that's about what time this line is going to be approaching you. So just be prepared. You're going to get a really strong gust of wind. You might hear some thunder. You might see some flashes of lightning. You're going to get a pretty good downpour, but as quick as it comes in, it is racing out of there, and hopefully we can get through this tonight without much in the way of any damage. I know obviously power outages are a concern. We had the very strong winds last weekend, may have weakened some trees and some other infrastructure as well, so hopefully we'll get through this without too many issues at the present moment. Let's take you up to the north now, the northern side of the Miami Valley here real quick, from roughly Randolph to Portland and up to Van Wert, and kind of track that part of the line northeast and kind of east-northeast as well. And again, Van Wert looking about 12:25, Salina 12:30, Lima about 10 minutes to 1 o'clock, same for Wapakoneta, Findlay just after 1 o'clock, and Kenton at about 10 after 1. So again, that I-75 corridor roughly, as we just said, give or take 10 or 15 minutes, it's going to be crossing through there, and we'll be kind of moving onward. Unless you guys see anything on radar, I'm not seeing any signs of rotation, which is good. This is still, I think, in my opinion, more of a damaging wind threat. But if you guys have any other opinions or you see something else, you can kind of let me know. But you guys seeing anything of interest? No?
Not particularly at the moment. Yeah, straight line wind for sure. And that's kind of how I believe we all felt this would turn into at this hour of the night at this part of the country. Now, down in Tennessee, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, it's a much different story. Our hearts certainly go out to those folks down there that are dealing with a massive overnight tornado outbreak there. But here in our coverage area, this has turned into a straight line wind event, which can, again, there's a lot of spin in the atmosphere up here. If we get just enough of that energy transferred down, 1 or 2 pockets anywhere along I-75 corridor could have a brief spin up. And that's where it's going to be tough to discern the difference between wind coming in one direction and one that is a brief EF0, EF1 tornado that still does damage. So that, we have to really keep our eyes peeled tonight. And either way, it's dangerous. The straight line winds that are coming out of this are strong. We don't get this very often. This is like a once, twice a year thing, maybe even less than that for many communities. And the fact that it's so widespread, taking over the whole Buckeye State, it took over the whole Hoosier State. Now it's our turn on the Ohio side. So, so Nick, Adriana, and everyone else out there, it's really important to stay vigilant over the next couple of hours, and we'll have to see what happens in eastern Ohio after that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Adriana.
I was going to say, just to address a few other comments too, Stephanie had asked, is this just tonight or does it move into tomorrow? So obviously we're seeing active thunderstorm activity now, but tomorrow that wind threat still remains as well. We do have some high wind warnings for some of our area into West Virginia on that. We have wind advisories for others as well. And then also someone asked if we're broadcasting from our homes and making sure that we're safe too. And I appreciate people looking out for us as we're looking out for you as well. Everyone is in their homes too. I got the little puppy cuddled on my lap because she does not like the thunder, but it definitely is nice to have that sense of security so people know that we're also taking those precautions as well.
Absolutely. And real quick, Zach was just saying that he did see some fairly large branches from the road, or large tree branches down there east of Bluffton, Indiana. That's no surprise. Now, that part of the storm right now is coming into Van Wert, crossing through southeastern Paulding County and down into northwestern Mercer County, right around Rockford, Wilshire area. That's where that part of the storm that Zach had kind of observed some damage potentially is kind of crossing that particular spot right now. Sorry, pointed the wrong spot, but that's kind of where that's going at this particular point in time. So those of you in Van Wert, I know we've got a lot of spotters out there. I know the emergency management agency is usually pretty solid there as well. So if we get any reports, we should see those relatively quickly. Zach also pointed out that our Skycam network may be a good resource to pull up shortly as well and just kind of see if we're seeing anything. And Owen pointing out that now winds well in advance of this line are now exceeding 50 knots in a couple of spots. And Mike, that's interesting in itself because that's almost kind of a 1-2-3 punch. You get the winds way ahead of the line, you get the main line, and then we've got tomorrow's winds. So that's an interesting trifecta right there.
It sure is, yeah. Owen was specifically mentioning Mansfield Lahm Airport, which is just north of downtown Mansfield, 50 knots, which is about 58 miles per hour. So that would be severe criteria even though there is no thunderstorm activity in north central Ohio right now, Mansfield area is probably about 2 hours ahead of this still, maybe a little less at this point, just because it's moving so fast. But I think Owen's point is critical here, just because we're feeling that wind picking up ahead of it, so it's almost going to be really, when the thunderstorms arrive, it's going to be a greater force, one. Then you're adding in the heavy rain, two, lightning, thunder, and then the possibility that some of that straight wind energy could be transferred into rotating wind energy. So I think that rotation, that's going to happen with the line of storms if it does. But if you're that far ahead, like I-71 corridor right now, you might be hearing the wind at your house. I have headphones on, so I can't see it, but I can kind of see some tree branches here in Columbus starting to move quite a bit. So, and then Adriana even said they're having thunder from a good stretch of the Miami Valley, Springfield area as well. So Clark and Champaign County stretching all the way down into Butler County too. So it's active everywhere. Stay safe, stay aware, and if it's tough to sleep, stick with us, and you'll be ahead of the storm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big key right there. All right, and I know we still probably have well over 1,000 of you watching. And again, just real quick to point out, Mike mentioned some thunder and lightning in the Clark County area. This is not severe, just to kind of put your mind at ease a little bit. All right, I know it's, we're going on that 1 o'clock in the morning time frame. You're waking up thinking, oh goodness, is this the severe threat if you're in the Dayton, Springfield area? Not yet. We are still watching that very closely. So real quick though, too, to the west of Cincinnati, we're still watching that severe thunderstorm warning. More of a wind threat. I don't see anything hail there. They do not have that one tagged tornado possible. But essentially, if you are north of Cincinnati and under any of these other severe thunderstorm warnings from Connorsville to Greenville to Wapakoneta, Piqua, Salina, Van Wert, Defiance, those are all tornado possible tags. And again, we really think that the chance of a tornado continues to do this. It's decreasing, right? We continue to see that threat decrease, but the damaging wind threat remains. And the other key to kind of take here too, let's turn on our lightning tracker and see how much lightning we have left to work with. Yeah, so that count has come down a little bit.
Kind of about the lightning with the saying lots of craziness with the lightning and stuff like that. So definitely seen some bright stuff. Here was for a little bit in Dayton, but it's definitely very windy now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Owen, real quick, just to answer your comment, I still don't have the ability to cross-post to your page. It tells me that I have to have approval, which is funny because I'm an admin there, but Facebook has not given me a resolution to that yet, so I apologize. I can't do anything there, but we're going to have to continue to watch that very closely. But again, this may very well be one of those situations where we have low-end type severe thunderstorm warnings carry through all throughout the state of Ohio through the rest of the overnight. We'll wait and see. There's still also a level 1 and even a small level 2 risk for northeast Ohio tomorrow afternoon. And that's because the center of low pressure, which by the way is not even on the screen, it's still way back to the west there, but that still has yet to come through. And that's our big key for tomorrow, that area of low pressure kind of working through the area, bringing some strong gradient winds. And if you enjoyed the warmer temperatures today, unfortunately, by this time tomorrow night, we're going to be back in the 20s and 30s. It's going to feel like winter again. Now, that might feel more like an April Fool's joke to you, right? But unfortunately, we had the 60s and even some 50s yesterday. And even again, as Mike said right now, the warmest time of the day is right now. So if you're maybe in places like, obviously there's not a thunderstorm, so let's look at like Zanesville or even Delaware. If you want to open up the windows for a little bit, you can. But once those winds really start to pick up, you might not enjoy that sleeping weather.
Saying that their power's going in and out. Salina had reports. Liz said she lives on the east side of Salina. Their power's starting to flicker. Someone said in Rossburg, Ohio, they lost power as well. So Chrissy agreeing with the lights flickering in Salina. I noticed mine a little bit when that rain started, but now that the first round in Dayton at least kind of moved out, definitely not seeing that as much.
Yeah, and real quick too, we kind of talked about the power outages being a potential today. Real quick, I wanted to look at the terminal Doppler out of Dayton as we're kind of getting a little bit closer to get a good idea on the wind. So we guys were talking about Salina. The terminal Doppler is actually kind of showing a little bit of a bow in this line, and that's not surprising, right? We've kind of talked about any time that happens, you can get a quick enhanced gust of even over 60 miles an hour. But anytime you see this, it's usually at about the apex of the bow. So we're talking like right now, Coldwater and St. Henry possibly. It'll be crossing US 127 shortly. But just to kind of also give you some insight as to how strong the winds are aloft, and Mike talked about that wind energy a little earlier, aloft. The terminal Doppler is suggesting that winds, over even places like Randolph County and Jay County, well above the atmosphere, are over 70 miles per hour. So it doesn't necessarily take a whole lot to get those to be transported back down to the surface. So I'll take you back to reflectivity, but again, one of our goals is to always educate, and just kind of thought that was kind of neat to share. So real quick, I'll kind of give you a quick radar synopsis from south to north. Cincinnati, you're seeing some showers right now. Not a lot of lightning in Cincinnati. Our lightning tracker is only showing about 20 strikes in the last 20 minutes, but just to the west of Cleves there, that's going to be west of 275. That's the storm that has the warning on it, right? So as that moves northeast, Hamilton County could require a warning. I think that one was set to expire at 12:45. No, okay, so 1 o'clock. Could be in the polygon. Could be out of the polygon relatively sooner than that. And then also down the line as an early heads up to those of you in places like Claremont and Brown County. Look what's going on now southwest of Cincinnati. Kind of a renewed development of a squall line. We didn't have as many warnings an hour or two ago near Louisville, but as this is kind of continue to work its way up towards the east, some new warnings continue to kind of be issued. So we're watching that. Dayton area, moderate to even some heavy rain. I don't think we're seeing a ton of lightning, but we are. Just there's a couple strikes there in Clark and Greene County. I'll make those a little bit larger so you guys at home can actually kind of see those. I can see them myself, but you may not be able to. So
Yeah,
you can
I
see.
just got on my weather station, my Tempest weather station, I got lightning has been detected within the last 23 to 25 miles around me here in Dayton. So I noticed some storms kind of firing off a little bit closer outside of Cincinnati area, maybe towards Butler County. Lots of heavy rain with these two down towards the Hamilton area. So obviously we're watching all of this though, and keeping us awake tonight. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so Christy also just messaged me and said the lights are flickering in Salina. We appreciate your comment about us doing a great job. We're definitely going to keep it up as long as we keep power, right? That's our goal here too. We can keep it up as long as we are up and moving. So Salina, one other thing too that's interesting, I just noticed this, the line kind of broke off into two right here in Mercer County. So that's kind of interesting there. We'll kind of see if that leads to anything. Sometimes you can get some interesting little things that happen there, but I'm not seeing any signs of rotation or anything. Mike, are you seeing any reports or anything like that?
I have not, no, which of course is good. I mean, in that situation, no news is good news. Of course, we still have lots of different regions that are under the threat of this impressive line of severe wind. We have a good chunk of that I-75 corridor is still under the threat for that. But yeah, I haven't seen rotation. I've been switching back and forth between reflectivity, which is the rainfall rate that you see, and velocity, which is, what is the wind direction, what is the intensity. Not really seeing a lot of areas of rotation. So thankfully, when we transfer some of that wind energy to the surface, it's not rotating. It may be overpowering all that potential for rotation in the atmosphere, which is good. This is good for us. And just to kind of give you guys a little bit of an update on what's going on to our south, I see only one tornado warning in the country right now, just to the east of Selmer, Tennessee. So that's well east of Memphis and well southwest of Nashville. Just want to get all my directions right there. But that's good. Not great that there's one tornado warning, but the fact that there are less now is good news for those folks down south. I know a lot of folks know people in Tennessee and Mississippi and Alabama, so just keep that in mind. Things seem to be improving, but we're not out of the woods yet. But back here at home, yes, it's this line of storms that again, like we've mentioned, Urbana, Springfield, Dayton, this is not the severe weather that we're talking about. Those are just some preliminary storms ahead of the main line with the main wind threat. So we're going to be hearing rumbles of thunder from Columbus to Richmond, Indiana, that about 110 mile stretch there of I-70 for a good part of the next hour and a half or so. So this is going to keep a lot of people up, a lot of dogs up for sure. But we'll get through it. Just stay with us, and we'll kind of track this fast moving wind, which is the key, fast moving.
Yep, and real quick too, Adrian, I saw Owen just mentioning something about energy. You guys seeing something there?
definitely looks like it's getting a little bit weaker. hopefully that means things will start to I know Owen mentioned that it's going to be more of a straight line wind threat, which is
Hmm.
still significant. I know you had touched on this way earlier in the day, Nick. I was watching one of your mid-afternoon streams that you did, but um the fact that 70-mile-an-hour winds, 74-mile-an-hour winds categorize a category 1 hurricane. So we're talking really significant wind gusts, wind speeds with these storms. These, you might hear severe thunderstorm warning with 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts and not really think, oh, whatever, but that's nearing category 1 hurricane status. So these severe thunderstorms definitely should be taken pretty seriously today with this storm chance. So
Yeah, that's definitely a good kind of point to kind of take out. Again, even 70 miles per hour. Again, obviously 5 miles an hour may not seem like a big difference, and in reality it's not. But obviously it's more of a technicality type thing. But I do think we're going to start to see more 60-mile-per-hour wind type severe thunderstorm warnings, and not as many 70s as we continue to progress. But again,
well,
we
you had
mentioned
a
this.
great point earlier too. When you put it into perspective, that's how fast you drive when you're on the highway too.
Hmm.
Like these winds are very, very strong. When I feel like I'm going 70, my car starts to vibrate because it's going too fast.
Yeah.
So these are winds that are definitely going to be damaging. We've seen a lot of rain, a lot of saturation the last few days, and with those winds kind of coupled with the wet ground, that's a potential that we could see some trees being uprooted, things like that too.
Yeah, and that means even at even 50 or 55, we could start to see
Right.
some of those type of things happen. So that's why we also have the wind advisories and the high wind warnings for tomorrow, which obviously that's a another discussion. As we continue to kind of move on through it and things start to wind down a little bit. I will say the southern end of this line, especially Richmond and south. For some reason, right now Richmond's kind of the cutoff. If you are north of Richmond, that the line's relatively intense. If you're south, not so much. But again, we continue to stress just because the reflectivity colors are not impressive here doesn't mean you're not seeing damaging winds or even strong straight line winds. And I will say, look at the lightning here south of Richmond. Just a quick observation. There's none. That's one piece of good news too, kind of bouncing back off of what Owen was saying with the energy of the storm starting week. And we talked about this earlier today too, how and Mike, you can kind of add on this a little bit too, but we call them skinny capes, very narrow corridor of instability. We're kind of seeing that pinched off, and it's that line right there. And if you don't have anything much out ahead of it, and your instability really doesn't start until right before that line arrives, it's kind of hard for the line to hopefully, as we would hope for, maybe not live as long as we would like it to. But when you're seeing the instability so close to the line like that, like some of the models are showing today, there's not a lot of time for the storms to either number one regenerate themselves or number two sometimes just last for a longer period of time.
Exactly, and that instability that we do have ahead of it is not near the surface, and I think that's one reason why we're not seeing much of a tornado threat, or at least right now, the tornado threat has significantly diminished compared to where it was an hour ago, is because the instability is well a bit above our heads. We still have it. That's why we have thunder and lightning. That's why we're still experiencing thunderstorms. But what's happening here is these storms are becoming elevated. And
Mm-hmm.
elevated basically means the base of the storm is higher in the sky. So the higher you get, the less likely a tornado is to form, because that funnel would have to stretch a much, much larger length. And the physics of the wind just don't like that too much. You like that. Tornadoes work best when you have a low cloud base compared to the ground, a low distance between the bottom of the cloud and the ground. The reason why we're having a different situation than what's going on in Tennessee is there's quite a bit of surface-based instability.
Hey, Mike, real quick. Mike,
Yep.
I want to interrupt you real quick. Okay,
No, you're good.
north of Salina, there appears
Oh,
to
I
be
see it.
a little bit of a peak. So let's kind of focus in back. And I'm looking from the northern Indiana weather radar just for kind of a reference, okay? So let's jump in real quick. And again, when we say tornado possible, this is what we're talking about, okay? A very, very brief type spin up could happen. And it could be happening right now, okay, just to the north of downtown Salina. So there's Salina, there's 127. And you're also looking there towards Rockford. Okay, it's up there at the top of your screen. This is US 33 that runs from Rockford to Wilshire and ultimately Fort Wayne. If you go back the other way, you're talking St. Mary's, Wapakoneta. But it's broad. But man, there's just something there. And again, it may be brief, maybe very brief. But if you are north of Salina right now, they're towards Mendon. And ultimately, this is about to cross right into northwestern Auglaize County here shortly. I'll reposition the map again. Just kind of, we're right on the edge of the radar, so it's kind of tough to get. The terminal doesn't get a great view. Wilmington's very high up. Northern Indiana's very high up. So we're kind of in a tough spot. But anytime we see a little bit of a spike right there, and Adrian, I don't know if you saw that too there, but we could be seeing a brief spin up possible right there.
Yeah, definitely something that, I mean, we've been mentioning for the last, I don't know how long we've been on here. These storms are quickly kind of dropping, picking up, creating those quick spinning spit ups like that as well. So definitely something to be keeping an eye on. We're kind of calling them severe thunderstorm warnings, but not kind of. It was issued by the National Weather Service,
Yeah.
but definitely still seeing these storms with the potential to create this exactly what we're seeing. So
Yeah, and real quick too, just for on the reflectivity demonstration side of things, we saw this earlier with the tornado down towards Frankfort, Indiana, but I talked about having a clean inflow notch where you don't have as much rain to kind of wrap around, and we're seeing that just a little bit right there. See that just to the north of Salina, right there. It's trying to intrude just a little bit. And Mike, this is where that line had kind of split into two a little bit, two separate line segments. As we kind of mentioned, sometimes when that happens, some wonky and interesting things could happen, and we could be seeing that right now there just to the north of Salina.
Yeah, and like I was alluding to earlier, there isn't a whole lot of surface-based instability ahead of this, but at this point right now, there still is just enough that we have this concern still. And yeah, Nick said we have that little split there, some slightly lighter rain near Salina, and yeah, we put on that wind energy. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right there
this is the terminal. We've kind of moved in at a little bit better range now, but
Yeah.
it's broad. But guys, again, we are moving on. 1 o'clock in the morning. Some of you may be in bed, and the other key here, I only see just a couple of lightning strikes. Okay, so if you are in St. Mary's and Wapakoneta and you're not awake right now, this is going to come through, and you may not notice it. So if you are awake and you happen to know a friend or a relative that's normally asleep, you might just want to call them and say, hey, this is coming. And again, now that we are in range of the terminal Doppler in Dayton from the airport, this will give us a lot better view. You might be hearing the rain coming down now here, but real quick, again, eastern Mercer County, so a couple spots, okay? One right here near St. Henry, up the line a little bit just to the east of Salina, and then just to the north. Again, anytime we see anyone, it's just a very tiny little spot of a little couplet there, could be a very brief spin up, or at the very least we could be seeing maybe a downburst or something of that nature. But so that's about to move right into Allglaze County. So those of you Wapakoneta and even southern Allen County, Cridersville over to Spencerville. Okay, and now the latest terminal scan looks a little stronger, maybe in a couple different spots in between Salina and St. Mary's. That's US 33 and Ohio Route 29. If you go south, it takes you back down to Mechanicsburg. If you go north, it takes you through Salina before it takes you over to the Indiana state line. But again, any one of these just, again, and this may be just damaging wind, and we may just be kind of talking about it, and at the end there's just a few trees down. But again, we're just in that, Mike is kind of alluded to, we've kind of alluded to, just enough. Sometimes we're boiling that pot of water, and it's just enough heat to get it to start bubbling in a certain amount of time. And so just kind of an interesting analogy there. So that's where things are standing right now. If we were going to see anything, in my opinion, that's kind of where it would be in terms of anything that would be a non-severe thunderstorm worthy. We'll have to wait and see if they're going to issue any new severe thunderstorm warnings for the Dayton metro area. That would be kind of the next area in line. But the good news is right now, even the Cincinnati area, that warning to the west looks weaker. And even the line that's kind of coming through southeastern Butler County over into Warren County, that is not even severe at the present moment. But there's a little bit of lightning, some very heavy rain here and there, but thankfully no warnings on this right now. I don't think they've touched that tornado watch either in terms of expanding it further east. Let's kind of touch on that. We haven't talked about that in a little bit. But so the tornado watch is in effect until
tornado warning now
for Mercer and Allglaze. Okay,
We
so
do.
let's jump back
Okay.
into it. I appreciate that. Thanks for the update there, Owen. So we have a new tornado warning now, and yep, I can see it a little bit there on the reflectivity from the terminal. But let's go back over to base velocity. And yeah, I definitely see where we're kind of talking about there, just to the northwest of St. Mary's. So now's the time, folks. If you live in Allglaze County, again, there's not a ton of lightning here. We are coming up on 1 o'clock in the morning. If you know somebody, call them. If you know somebody that might be up, text them first, or even just call them. If you wake them up, it's not the end of the world. There is a tornado warning now, and it could be on the ground. It may not be, but again, I don't know what the expiration time is on that. This is radar indicated, goes until 1:15, moving northeast at 40. That's a much slower speed than what we've been seeing today. You might have just heard that thunder here at my particular location, but
Heard it.
Starting to pick up here a little bit too. But Adriana, what I'm seeing on reflectivity is not overly impressive, but velocity I think seems to give a much better picture of what's going on.
Yeah, and a cute message from one of my friends just messaged me. Just so you guys know, you're the only local source on right now in the Dayton area. So a shout out from them, which always makes you feel a little bit better. But back to the serious part of that, always kind of gives us a pat on the back too. Definitely a little bit slower moving, as you were saying too. I mean, we've been watching those storms all day for the last, I don't know, 2 hours now that have been moving at 70 miles an hour, or had wind 70 miles an hour associated with them too. So it's getting tighter with each run though, so that's
It
definitely
is.
a pretty serious situation again, as Nick was mentioning. If you're near Cartersville, Spencerville, up in Lima, I know I worked up there for a few months. A few viewers I'm sure from the area too, you'll want to be in your safe spot now. Most of them have been moving at that northeasterly path. I'm sure Nick can give us more details since he's got that radar handy too.
Yeah, so real quick, I'm actually pulling out one of our neat tools. I can label these streets here for you, kind of let you know where it is we're talking about real quick. And as we're doing this, as a reminder, tornado precautions. We got to take those right now. St. Mary's, Wapakoneta, just to the east of Salina. And really, Salina is in the polygon, but really now it's starting to move away. So again, basement, small interior room, bathroom, hallway, closet. So right now, it looks like the rotation is going to be near US 33 and Bogart Road. So we're kind of talking right in this spot right here. Okay, we're looking from the terminal Doppler in Dayton. If you're following along at home, this gives us a pretty good low-level scan. St. Mary sits right here. You're in the polygon, but as it stands right now, the latest scan, the rotation is coming right along Bogart Road. It's about to cross State Route 116. And just kind of for reference here, this here in St. Mary's, this is where 33 and 29 branch off. You've got a couple grocery stores. You've got a Rite Aid there as well. And you go over here to Salina, and this is Grand Lake St. Mary's right here. So if you know anybody that's even remotely close to there within just a couple miles, call them, wake them up, and let them know to get to shelter. But again, this is coming right along Bogart Road, about to cross 116, and then down the line, State Road 66. That's not too far from Spencerville as we continue to kind of move on through. Let's get you a couple other streets that are kind of in the path of this as we move along. Kind of covering maybe kind of on the northern side of this just so that we're clear. There's County Road 200. And we continue to watch that very closely here. There's St. Mary's River Road. And again, the rotation right now is very close to Bird Road and Bogart Road. So it's kind of one neat tool that we can use sometimes when we're getting these very late night type storms. We can give you some street names and kind of give you some other landmarks that are in the path of this. But again, right now, this is a radar indicated rotation, right? We're not seeing this confirmed by any storm spotters. It's going to be hard to confirm with no lightning or anything of that nature, but there's also a secondary area, and it may have just kind of weakened a little bit there, but just to the south of St. Mary's there towards New Bremen and New Knoxville. Okay, another little spot right there potentially. And again, it may just be one of these things that's there for a couple scans and it's gone. Also, a real quick call to action. This is going to be moving northeast towards Lima here very shortly, so we'll wait and see if the Weather Service in northern Indiana issues a new warning. And the reason why that happens is Auglaize County is in charge. Their warnings come from Wilmington, but Allen County comes from the Weather Service in northern Indiana. So we have two different offices here. We'll see what they're going to do with this, but if you're in Spencerville, Lima, Fort Shawnee, don't be surprised if you do see a tornado warning issued soon. If this type of circulation were to continue and moving off there towards the east-northeast, the Weather Service may elect, okay, this is strong enough, let's go ahead and issue it. Obviously, again, it is very early in the morning. A lot of you are asleep. And Mike, the other thing, too, is, again, we're not seeing much lightning. So folks definitely need to, hopefully they're up and hearing this and getting to their shelters. But I still see kind of two areas of rotation. What's your thoughts on that southern one there closer to New Bremen, kind of south of St. Mary's?
Yeah, so you're talking about the area just a hair to the east of State Route 66, right?
Yep.
Along near New Knoxville. Yeah.
Yep.
So what's happening here from my view is I'm actually looking at it from I have two vantage points. One, I have the northern Indiana radar, and I also have the Dayton terminal radar. It does look a lot more pronounced on the Dayton terminal radar, and that indicates to me why the National Weather Service issued this tornado warning, because the Dayton terminal Doppler radar, the airport radar, I should say, is scanning at a much lower level. So I'm getting a picture about 6,000 feet in the air, and I'm also getting a picture about 1,500 to 200 feet, or 2,000 feet, I should say. So if both radar views are supporting the rotation, I'd say it was a very good call for our friends down in Wilmington to issue that warning, and that fact that this threat is legit and serious. Yeah, and then that's still that area. It looks like the one near St. Mary's has broadened ever so slightly, but it's still concerning. But yeah, I definitely would be paying attention. And if you're in Wapakoneta, you should be in your safe spot as well.
Most
And I know.
certainly.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, most. I was just going to kind of agree with you there too. So again, now in Salina and really all of Mercer County, you're clear now. That's one piece of good news. The polygon might take a couple minutes to clear off, but Chickasaw, Salina, Mendon, you guys were all in the morning. You guys are good now, so you can come out of your shelters if you were in there. But again, we're not seeing much in the way of lightning with this, so that's my number one concern too. In addition to this, it's just that some folks they sometimes will equate to hearing thunder. Oh, I need to do something, but you're not going to hear that this morning across parts of Algoles County. Real quick, we had some new severe thunderstorm warnings issued too, and it looks like Adriana, this looks like this one includes you as well.
Yeah, I just got that here. Actually, my Bell Park app went off to let me know.
That's
But
right.
definitely watching some of these. This band that we've been, watching for I don't know how long now. Nick has been literally on since I don't know, basically 4 p.m. at this point. But still seeing those really strong winds that are kind of what's driving some of these severe thunderstorm warnings to be issued too. So very active. It has been all day, and we're starting to finally see that kind of closing in on the Miami
Yeah,
Valley.
and we have another new tornado warning too for Van Wert and Allen. Not to cut you off there, but we just wanted to real quick. You'll see that polygon come up here momentarily. Looks like this is going to include now the city of Lima, and you should see that pop up. Yeah, so it's a very very small portion of Van Wert County, and kind of what we were alluding to earlier when these two line segments kind of split right here. Okay, so you can see where they kind of split. We have the northern line segment that's moving into Lima, and the southern line segment that's going to be impacting places like Dayton, Pickwood, and Troy shortly. But the Weather Service now in northern Indiana believes that what we're seeing here is just strong enough, and obviously, again, time of day could be a factor into this too. That's going to move right up into Lima. So let's get you an updated time of arrival. And by the way, Mercer County has now been dropped from the tornado warning, so it's just Auglaize, Van Wert, and Allen now. And it looks like they've got this moving. Let's see what they've got this moving here. Moving northeast at about 50. So that makes a little bit that makes sense to me. So we'll move it off to the northeast here at close to 50 miles per hour. So some updated times of arrival for you: Fort Shawnee 105, Lima 109, Lafayette 119, moving into Bluffton at 128, Arlington at 142. That's kind of more into portions of Hancock County, but it's going to be this southern tip of the line right here. And sometimes this is the part of the storm where if there's not a whole lot else to compete out there, sometimes the southern ends of these storms can, at least that's where we think our better chance of a tornado would likely be happening. It's going to be right there just to the south of Spencerville, kind of riding that Allen and Auglaize County line. But Lima, that's our county seat. That's a lot of people there. 75s are a pretty heavily traveled thoroughfare. So if there should be nobody driving right now. I know it's obviously 1 o'clock in the morning. There may not be a lot of people out, but if you happen to be out and about and you're listening to us, or maybe somebody's calling you and saying, hey, there's a tornado warning, make sure you find a more substantial shelter. I know Lima, obviously, it's, we got our refineries out there. There's a lot of people that may be working right now too, so they're probably going through all their tornado precautions. But just to recap, put yourself in a basement, small interior room, bathroom, hallway, or closet, as many walls between you and the outside as possible. If you don't have a helmet, take a pillow, a sofa cushion, a mattress, something that you may have, and just make sure that you're protecting yourself from flying debris. So oftentimes we see that, Mike, when tornadoes happen, it's when we see people hurt and things of that nature, it's because they weren't protecting their head and their neck area.
Yeah, absolutely. And as someone who has gone out and done some storm spotting and storm chasing before, one of the big things we were really adamant about was a hail helmet. And when I visited elementary schools back in my TV days, that was one thing we tried to really tell the kids. It's like, look, we try to teach kids that it's cool to wear a helmet to ride a bike. Well, it's also cool to wear a helmet to protect yourself from severe weather too. And you could just, this is a critical part of any severe weather kit, I think. One thing I've noticed just in general is over the last decade, just how much more awareness there has been to head injuries, concussions, just in general, not only in the sports world, but just in life in general. As a snowboarder, nearly everyone's wearing helmets at ski resorts. 10 years ago, that wasn't a thing. Now it needs to be a thing for severe weather too. and we see pictures sent in. We see people talking about it. Seeing kids wearing their bike helmets, taking shelter. I mean, this is some of this. This is great. Like people are taking this seriously and being so smart about it, and it's awesome to see. But absolutely right. It's so important to consider um, what could happen in that regard. It'll make life a lot easier if something were to happen to the structure around you. Nick, if you don't mind, I'll just comment on the reflectivity really quick.
Yeah.
With that Lima storm, looking at the velocity, you definitely see the some rotation right north of the county line near Buckland, if you're seeing it right, and it does tie up to the a little hook there on our rain view, our reflectivity there. So I can certainly see why the National Weather Service decided to issue this tornado warning, and just because of the population center that is Lima, it makes sense that a lot of folks there are hopefully heeding the warnings, getting into their basements, interior rooms, bringing some head protection of some sort with you, and doing their best to, kind of monitor the situation and stick it out for just a while longer. It won't be much longer, but now's the time to be in your safe spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you're just now tuning in, meteorologist Mike Joyce and Adriana Michaels are with me. I'm forecaster Nick. We have two tornado warnings, kind of overriding two different Weather Service offices. You have one for all Glaze County that includes Wapakoneta, St. Mary's, and pretty close to Waynesfield. Waynesfield's not in, but if you have a Waynesfield address, maybe you want to just kind of move indoors and into that safe place anyway. That goes until 1:15. And then a new tornado warning that includes Spencerville, Lima, Beaver Dam, up to Bluffton, Ohio, until 1:15. These are all radar indicated. Again, it's just one of those situations where it's just a very brief type spin up. But again, we don't have much lightning to work with. And what's interesting is there's actually a solid amount of lightning to the north of the tornado warnings. And there's also at least a little bit to the south of the tornado warnings. That doesn't always happen that way, but sometimes that's just the way it is. Real quick, though, too, down to the south, if you're going down 75 here towards Sydney, Piqua, Troy, Tip City, the north side of the Dayton Metro, pretty nice, stout-looking thin line of very strong to potentially some damaging wind gusts here. I was looking at a spot in southeastern Darke County for maybe, again, one of those little brief type spin-ups. Not seeing a whole lot of sign there, but there's at least, I can actually show you how strong the winds are on the velocity side. Just kind of jumped on me there, but 60, 65 miles per hour, which again, that's enough to do some damage and bring some trees down and obviously some power lines down. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning now for Allen and Putnam, and it is tornado tagged. That's not surprising, and that's kind of a reissuance from a prior warning. And it looks like they're not going to issue a new watch at this particular point in time downstream. And again, keep in mind that watch is essentially the US 68 corridor from Kenton down to Wilmington and points west until 5 a.m. Clearly, this line will be east of US 68 by 5 a.m. And it looks like we have some new warnings as well towards Findlay. Severe thunderstorm warning, 60 mile per hour winds there, and same for Toledo. Kind of give you a little bit broader perspective. And also, not to be remiss, we have another new severe thunderstorm warning for the Wilmington area, southern Greene County, all of Warren County, portions of Hamilton and Claremont County as well. Good news is on that is it's not tornado tagged. It goes until 1:30. Now that storm motion, as you can see, moving at about 60 to 65 miles per hour. So looks like the southern end of this line still kind of moving at a very, very decent clip. And we'll kind of watch that. Adriana, yeah, go ahead. I see it.
I just had a friend actually message me and say that there's over 3,000 people in Mercer County that are currently out without power, and we're seeing reports now that power lines are down on State Route 703 just west of Fort Turkey Road in eastern Mercer County, which would add up to that. So we are starting to see some wind damage, potentially some damage due to that tornado warning as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. Nope. I appreciate that. You can just raise your hand and I'll come over to you. No problem at all. Real quick too, I am kind of also, at least from the Wilmington
raise
radar.
Your hand high.
Yeah, go ahead, Owen.
No, I just had to laugh. You raise your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. So real quick too, guys. I'm watching just to the west of Piqua on the Wilmington reflectivity. Just a little interesting little kind of S shape to that. We'll have to kind of watch and see if that develops into anything. But as Adriana said, we do have those storm reports started coming in there out of Mercer County. It looks like they have trimmed a little bit more of All Glaze County out of the tornado warning, but it's still in effect right now, essentially at I-75 and US 33. I believe there's a truck stop there. There's also Bob Evans right there in Wapakoneta. It's also very close to the Neil Armstrong Museum right there. That goes until 1:15, so we're still here for another 14 minutes on this one. Again, the storm motions appear to be slowing down, at least on the northern end of this, a little bit, moving at 50 miles per hour, whereas the storm motions on the southern end are still moving a little bit closer to 60. So again, right now here in Wapakoneta and points east, so Uniopolis, I apologize if I mispronounced the name, but you're also looking there towards Waynesfield. Let's look at the velocity from Wilmington just to see if they're showing anything. It's really broad up here, so we'll go back to the terminal Doppler in Dayton, and we'll also take a quick look at southern Allen County because I was noticing something there possibly. I mean, even from the terminal Doppler, it still looks kind of broad, but again, guys, we're starting to get these damage reports coming in as well. And also, real quick, west of Troy. Thanks, Brant. I just saw your comment on that too. So there's a few little spots of these extra bright blues here. And as you can see, there's one here just to the southwest of Pleasant Hill, one northwest of Pleasant Hill, and one there near Covington. Each one of these could be just a very quick wind spike of maybe 60 to 65 miles per hour. But it's, again, any one of those little spots. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning that is tagged tornado possible. So, again, any one of these little spots could pop up with a quick tornado warning at any given time. So working up the line, this is about to cross I-75, and it's 1 o'clock. That's right about when we said, again, give or take 10 or 15 minutes, that's when it would be crossing. At least in some spots, that's kind of where it's at right now. Moving up here towards Lima, again, we don't have a great view. Mike, are you seeing a better view on that Lima storm from any of the next rad sites instead of the terminal? I know you've got more than one radar pulled up there.
Yeah, let me get back over to northern Indiana as well. I've got the Dayton radar on my phone. It looks like the Fort Shawnee area, according to the Dayton terminal, is still our area of greatest concern. So that's just south of Lima. That's right along I-75 right now. The northern Indiana radar, there's a lot of, looks like we've got a lot of range folding going on. Basically,
Okay.
the radar signal's just kind of not great. We're getting some interference, essentially, out of northern Indiana. Let me check Wilmington really quick. Yeah, Dayton Airport Terminal has given us our best view. The Wilmington radar, which, unfortunately, this is not a very good radar coverage area. Most of the radars for Lima and so like Allen, Auglaize County, we're looking at 70, 80, 90 miles away. So the scans are not the best.
We have a new tornado warning, Mike, down from Miami County now for the city of Troy and Pickwick.
Okay.
Yep. So,
yes, I see it.
Yep. So Brant called that one out. I appreciate that, and we were all kind of watching that as well. But good call out there. So right now, a new tornado warning now for Fletcher, Christiansburg, Troy, West Milton, Laura, the I-75 corridor from south of Lockington to just north of the Dayton International Airport. So getting a little closer to Dayton, but just to reiterate, Dayton is not under any kind of tornado warning at this particular point in time. So we're watching this very closely. If we do have a tornado, it's going to be right here along. Let's get our road tool back out here so we can kind of show you exactly where we're at and get you some more specific spots. And in fact, there might be a couple of spots here actually where there's some decent looking inflows. So real quick, let's see if I can get this to work here at 1:05 in the morning. But we're talking about Range Line Road. You're also talking here near Pleasant Hill, that's State Road 718. You're also talking about Myers Road, and you also have up here that's going to be State Road 48, just to kind of get our bearing straight with where we're at. So again, and I'm also going to bring out my telestration tool so I can kind of illustrate what I think is kind of happening here, potentially in a couple different spots. So number one, a couple little inflow notches. There could be one right there, and there could also be one right there. And again, folks, it doesn't necessarily take a whole lot, especially when we're in the type of high shear, very low instability environment that we are in. So might see a couple little spots right there in between Pleasant Hill and Ludlow Falls and just to the north and south of those areas. And again, so we need to be taking our tornado safe precautions, right? So that means bicycle helmet, football helmet if you don't have one, pillow, sofa cushion, mattress, something to protect your head, get to that safe place. And that also means make sure you're waking up your children. I know they're probably asleep, and don't forget those four-legged pets and your furry friends. Don't forget to take them to your shelters as well. They want to make sure that they are safe as well. The latest scan there kind of coming in. I'll take my very poor drawing there off the screen so you guys can kind of see what we're looking at there. But we continue to watch this. This is a new tornado warning now. It goes until 1:30, moving east at about 50 miles per hour. And again, as we kind of zoom things out just a little bit, we have 3 tornado warnings. Okay, so if you live in Lima, Wapakoneta, Piqua, Troy, or anywhere near those locations, we still got to be in our safe places for at least a little while longer here. We also have a new severe thunderstorm warning down in southwest Ohio. I'll get to that here shortly, but right now the Miami Valley appears to be a little bit of the hot spot, if you will. We have 3 of these warnings here, and if you live within any kind of reasonable distance to I-75, I would just kind of be prepared to just kind of move indoors. Maybe, again, as Adriana said, make sure you know where that safe spot is if you are not already awake. Some of you may already be awake, or you may have been with us since we kind of started here early this evening and kind of lingering now to the early morning hours. But the good news is, again, right now we do not have anything confirmed on the ground, and we do still have those damage reports coming out of Mercer County there. Adriana, did you have any more? Have you heard anything from up there?
Not yet. I actually was checking in with a few other people, obviously still seeing reports that there are some power outages, trees down, things of the sorts, now that kind of where we saw the original couplet start, closer back towards Mercer County, the Salina area, but now obviously seeing that warning more obviously into the Lima area there too, and definitely keeping a close eye on that system in the near Troy at this point. I here in Dayton, just south of downtown, winds have significantly picked up in the last few minutes, probably in the last 5. Definitely starting to feel and hear the howling and things like that as well. And obviously we're seeing a lot of thunderstorm warnings outside of the tornado warnings too.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, too, just to kind of point out, they've issued another new severe thunderstorm warning. We're back up now to 70 miles per hour, considerable with a tornado possible tag for Hardin County, Logan County, most of Champaign County, northwestern Madison County, and a good portion of Union County. So there appears to be just a couple spots on this line segment that have really just kind of held together, and they don't seem to want to let up. I'll go back to Adriana's word a little earlier, the line that could, essentially, as we continue to watch this working through. We still have these warnings that continue. The warning for Auglaize County, I think, will likely expire a little early if it hasn't already, but we're also watching again now on the northeastern side of Lima towards Beaver Dam and Bluffton. That's going to be near the 309 and 75 interchange. Actually, may just be a little bit north of there. You've also got Ohio Route 81. Yeah, go ahead, Owen.
So I just say we got a new tornado warning.
We
from
do.
Miami, but that.
Did they go observed on that?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, they might have. That's might have what happened.
That's what I have.
Yep, okay, so we have an observed tornado, so let's jump back down into, yep, that's exactly what they did. It's now flashing purple on my screen here.
Right, that's why everything's going nuts over here. All right.
Okay, yep, no, that sounds good. And real quick, too, just to point out there near West Milton and points to the south, again, just a couple of these brief pockets, but now we do have an observed tornado. This is coming now up on I-75 just to the west of downtown Troy. So, and again, I'll bring my telestration tool out to kind of show you our inflow. Yeah, go ahead, Owen.
Just to let you know, Nick, the reason it went observed is from the forecaster down in Wilmington, who's a great guy, by the way. He has observed debris signatures on that, so that's why it's went observed.
Okay, then let's go over to the Wilmington radar real quick, and we'll go over to the correlation coefficient product, and we'll zoom right in and be able to get a pretty good indication on this, hopefully, if I can get this to switch over right. So let's get you back into Troy. Again, an observed tornado now being reported, and there it is right there. So again, correlation coefficient, as a reminder, what this is we're looking for things that are not raindrops or snowflakes. We're looking for things like bricks, boards, nails, and we're seeing that right now. This drop off in correlation, this lowering, where we're seeing these yellows and these greens, that's where the Weather Service in Wilmington says, hey, we have an observed tornado here. So this is going to cross I-75 just to the north of downtown Troy. And there's still, it looks like there's some residential areas in here too that could be a little bit more densely populated just outside of Troy. So again, if you know somebody in Troy, call them right now and wake them up. Tell them, hey, there's a tornado on the ground. You've got to get to your safe place right now. As Adriana said earlier, hopefully you know where your safe place is, and that continues to work its way off there towards the east-northeast. Let's get you some street names and let you know exactly where we are talking about here. This is going to be State Road 41. There is I-75, so just to the north of that interchange there is where this is on the ground right now. And also there's State Road 718. And again, just to repeat, this is a tornado on the ground. County Highway 31, it's heading towards Piqua Troy Road. and also up there towards Peterson Road. Just kind of get our bearings straight. This is where we're at. Current time is 1:10, and of note, guys, there's no lightning, and this tornado is on the ground. Just shows the sheer power and impressiveness of this line, as Mike said earlier. Just an impressive amount of wind with this, and obviously now we have this tornado on the ground too. So, are you guys seeing, excuse me, anything other than this fact that the tornado is on the ground? Are you guys seeing any reports or anything so far?
Not yet on my end. I'm just kind of scrolling social media, trying to watch some of the comments that people are watching in from too. Lots of people saying they are in their basement seeking shelter. Kelly said she called her mother-in-law.
Good.
They're in Troy to check in with to make sure that they are seeking that safe spot too. Obviously, as Nick mentioned, there is a observed tornado due to debris signatures on the radar. It's obviously very dark outside. It would be very hard to physically see. But yeah, Nick is pointing out there kind of the notch that you can see right just north of Troy, kind of crossing over I-75 at this point, heading into basically the downtown Troy area at that too. I did just get someone that let me know there are over 12,000 power outages right now in the Miami Valley area too, obviously due to winds, but also again tracking this ongoing tornado warning.
Absolutely. And so real quick, here's an updated spot on that debris signature. So here's downtown Troy. I mean, we're talking maybe a mile to no more than 3 miles to the northwest of Troy. It's not an overly powerful debris signature, but nevertheless, this lower ring here tells us that we do have a tornado on the ground. It is crossing I-75 right now, and if you live in Casstown, this will probably pass just north of you. Fletcher just kind of south of you, so hopefully kind of passing in more rural areas. But I do see a decent amount of residential spots right here on the northern side of Troy that this is coming through right now. So we hope that everybody's in their safe spot and that everybody is acting on their tornado safety precautions. Ludlow Falls, Pleasant Hill, we can give you an all clear at this point. The tornado warning has, the storm that has prompted the warning has crossed now east of 75. So if you're watching us from there, you can come out of your tornado safe place at this particular point in time. Not to be forgotten about real quick, we still have our tornado warning up here from Lima and also Wapakoneta. The one for Wapakoneta will be expiring here in 2 minutes, and the one for Lima
they
as well.
expired them. They, excuse me. There we go. They did expire those, Nick. Sorry.
Okay, they already did. Okay.
The one you have is Troy right now.
Okay. Oh, excuse me, that sounds good. So real quick, let's see where we're at now. So it looks like we're kind of still waiting on the latest scan, but as I was kind of pointing out, our inflow notch is on the rear side. And we've seen this so many times tonight, and it's kind of just an interesting reminder that not all thunderstorms that produce tornadoes are supercells. Not all thunderstorms that produce tornadoes are on the leading edge of the line. There's our latest reflectivity scan, and as you can see, there's not a debris ball necessarily in the reflectivity, but your tornado's right here. Okay, just to the north of Troy by just a few miles here. This is just passed over I-75. And Owen, are they mentioning if they're going to continue this warning into Champaign or Clark County at all? Yep.
No, and I tell you, Nick, there was an OGO camera right there in Troy looking towards that Honda plant or dealer. Sorry, I don't know if it's a plant or dealer. Yeah, nothing. Traffic's still flowing through I-75 right now, but they've made no mention of that. But I am still looking at OGO cameras down in that area, not seeing necessarily too much at this point, but I'm not sure how far north that is. I'd have to look, but I'm still looking south here on that camera.
All right, yeah, so that's a good piece of information. I appreciate that. Thank you. But just as a quick heads up, wow, okay, that debris signature deepened up a little bit. And Mike, when we see the blues start to pop up, that tells us that we're seeing a little bit more concentration of debris being picked up. That means we're seeing more trees, bricks, boards, nails, vinyl siding, that kind of thing starting to be picked up when we start to see the blues on the correlation coefficient like that.
Absolutely, and wow, yeah. Just to the northeast of downtown Troy, so a very residential area north of State Route 55 there. I'm pretty familiar with that area. What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to roll on that OGO camera that Owen mentioned just to see if we can just kind of keep an eye on it and see if we see anything coming up here in the next now, basically. But anyway, yeah, what's very interesting about this situation here is we're getting this debris signature, and Nick, you do have the Wilmington radar on.
That's correct. Yep.
Screen.
That's correct.
I figured. Okay, cool. So What I'm seeing here from we are very, very close to the Dayton Airport Terminal Doppler radar, which is right along State Route 41, but smack dab in the middle between 201 and 202. So basically, Casstown. This thing, we are getting a good picture. It doesn't look like it's. You can definitely see an area of rotation right there in the center of Casstown along County Road 55 there between 202 and 201. And if you're seeing that debris there out of Wilmington,
wow. Yeah.
which is probably scanning, 4,000 feet up at that point, whereas this radar is scanning probably less than 1,000 feet because it's so close. Yeah, and there it is. Yeah, you see that. We're seeing 3 different views of this storm, and I'm thinking we've got something on the ground here still.
I do too.
If not very close, maybe coming up and down every few seconds or so.
Yeah, and real quick too, this is almost kind of a supercell type look now, looking from the terminal Doppler in Dayton. The storm has kind of occluded itself, or not occluded, but kind of separated itself just a little bit here, and your inflow notch right there, okay, coming right into Casstown. That's where your inflow notch is, and then your precipitation's wrapping around like that. So this is kind of that infamous 6-hook type signature on radar. We don't like to see that, especially this time of the night. There's obviously a lot of folks are asleep, and we hope that everybody's getting up and hopefully you're hearing the warnings. Again, as Adriana mentioned earlier, sirens should not be your number one resource. Okay, we have our app, again, the QR codes in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. You can download it right now for free so you get the alerts. I will also tell you that my girlfriend was just kind of navigating the radar, and the little box popped up a safety net alert just saying that for one of her locations, a warning was issued. So you're going to get that instantaneous alert, which is really important, and we still obviously want you to have more than one way to receive warnings, but that signature just to north of Casstown, the latest reflectivity scan, I mean, this is very, very textbook. Your inflow notch is coming all the way up and around. Look at that. That is really impressive to see that coming up all the way up and around like that, and then you have your precipitation wrapping around from the north side coming down there towards Casstown. So we're going to continue to watch that.
Just so you know, you do got another, that latest scan, the latest scan that just came in, the tornado vortex signature just got removed, but there is another one forming just right by Rosewood that's looking a little ominous, but I have to keep an eye on that. But it is showing a TVS signature there that is flagging, so I have to keep a close eye on that as well.
My power's flickering pretty bad here, just south of Dayton too. So if I cut in and out, just know it's probably my Wi-Fi too.
Sure. Nope, that's understandable too. Real quick too, as Owen had mentioned, the warning for Allen and Allglaze is gone. I know that we are continuing to monitor all these very, very closely for you, kind of getting you back into the Wilmington radar. Let's go back to our debris signature. I still think there's something right there just to the northeast of Casstown. It's definitely a lot smaller. Owen, are the Weather Service meteorologists still thinking that this is down at this point?
They are silent, so in
Okay.
in my history with them, well, hold on. They went a tornado possible tag for Champaign, Clark, Greene, Madison, Miami, and Montgomery.
Okay. Okay, I'm not too surprised by that. And folks, with that being said, don't be surprised if we start to see new signs of maybe some new rotation, or perhaps that this tornado is still on the ground. We could see a new warning issued. So now we have a new severe thunderstorm that includes Springfield, Enon, Huber Heights, Beaver Creek, down to about Kettering. We are also seeing that warning including Mechanicsburg over to London and areas just to the south of Urbana. And not to be forgotten about, just real quick, a severe thunderstorm for the Wilmington area. And I will say this line segment here from South Solon down to Wilmington looks rather stout and impressive from a reflectivity standpoint. So that's coming over towards the Jeffersonville Outlet Mall. That's crossing I-71 to the northeast of Caesars Creek. And then also as well, we are keeping a very close eye on what's happening down there in southeastern portions of Butler County as well. And Owen, real quick, if you have the time, if you have the way to go back to the original ONW post and pin the post, just a good real quick point, since we've had all of our warnings auto posted when folks are going into the app to try to find the live video on the Facebook side, they may not see it. So we may want to make sure that that post is pinned if we can do so.
Yeah. I'm reposting it. So
you are? Okay, perfect, awesome. So again, as of last update, we had a tornado on the ground in eastern Miami County. Let's go back to correlation coefficient again, and that signature appears to have weakened. But again, that we were in one of these situations where, and I'll go back to what Mike said earlier, It's just enough. It doesn't necessarily take much, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole lot. And Mike, from what I'm seeing on terminal Doppler, it appears to have become definitely more wind driven, based on my perspective. They're right there near Christiansburg, and yeah, that reflectivity definitely has weakened considerably from what it
Yeah,
was.
one thing I'm noticing too, I mean, I'm kind of trying to keep up with social media comments and things like that. Obviously, we still have an active tornado warning at this time too, but it's moving a lot faster than we kind of saw a lull, and everything kind of picked speed back up too. I mean, I looked down for 5 minutes and it's already across 3 or 4 cities. So definitely starting to see these storms, hearing the wind and the rain at my house too, kind of ramping up a little bit more. And honestly, I'm looking at my house. We're kind of in the clear when it comes to that major severe threat, but watching again for other counties that are in those severe thunderstorm warnings too.
Yeah, and one
Yeah,
other thing too that I've kind of yeah, go ahead, Owen.
well, no, I was just going to say that the storm, as Adriana is pointing out, it's out of the polygon now. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the tornado warning, they've elected not to reissue that at this point. So that's a good sign.
Right.
But you do still have more of this linear threat and straight line damaging winds that'll be with us here through the next few hours here as we get into the mid morning hours.
I got you. Okay, sorry. Thanks. I was just checking a couple of things on the app side. Yeah, I appreciate all those points, guys, very much. And real quick, too, just to kind of point out, I haven't really mentioned it because we've had the active tornado warnings, but just to the southeast of downtown Cincinnati, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for Brown and Claremont counties. That is set to expire at 1:45 for winds up to 60 miles per hour. Sorry, let me reposition the radar there so you can kind of see what we're talking about. It's going to be the spot right in here. Again, a line 7 kind of moving east-northeast. Highland County, you're next in line, down into Adams County, then eventually crossing Ross Pike, Scioto. That's the lower Scioto Valley. Just kind of an early heads up to you. The severe thunderstorm that was in effect for Wilmington kind of appears to have moved off to the northeast. We have a new warning for, oh, and that's going to be your neck of the woods, not too far from you.
Seneca, yeah. So, yeah, there goes my weather radio right now. So Crawford, Seneca, and Wyandotte till 2 in the morning. Radar indicated 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. I'm not overly zealous about it, but what we're seeing is there's a few radio reports coming in out of Hancock County. So Hancock County's got a few damage reports.
Okay.
That doesn't surprise me. There's some trees that are down in Hancock County in the Findlay area, so that doesn't surprise me. Or excuse me, Arlington. So that doesn't surprise me that we're seeing a warning, probably based on that information that's been given.
Yeah, that's no surprise there. So now all of Seneca, all of Crawford, all of Wyandotte till 2 in the morning. Now they've got the storm motion on this one at 70 miles per hour. But if you also look at the area that they're covering, that's going way out there in time. So over the next half hour, that sounds about right. It's 70 miles per hour to get from Findlay to roughly Willard. That sounds about correct to me. So that's why you're going to see that. And this northern line segment just does not want to give up. Even though there's no warning up here for places like Fremont and up to Port Clinton and over to the North Bass Island, over around Sandusky as well, just because there's no warning, again, you see the lightning flashes here, right? So we still have a little bit of energy, a little bit of intensity left, but again, the overall trend continues to show some signs of weakening. The northern end of this line only has about 130 lightning strikes, whereas the southern end of this line actually really has 0. There's actually more lightning with the quick moving line across parts of Knox County that has no warning on at all. There's actually more lightning in that than there is just about anywhere else, and that's really impressive to kind of see, and that shows again where that instability currently is. There's also a good amount of lightning southwest of Hillsborough and also crossing in the middle Ohio Valley around Parkersburg. So that's kind of where things are. But again, so we've kind of lost our tornado potential. Again, it when we lost it beforehand, excuse me, it didn't really take long. It just took one
all
little
warnings
cell.
tornadoes are expired, so we are back to our
tornado warning free. Okay, that is good. And again,
Yeah,
we
it
are.
seems to be the trend, though. I feel like we lose it, and then somewhere in the atmosphere, it finds that strength to kind of pop back up too. So although we don't have any active tornado warnings too, it's still important to stress that we've been watching these storms kind of weaken, ramp back up, weaken, drop a quick pop up tornado and things like that too, as we were forecasting as well.
Yeah, and real quick, just to say, go ahead, Owen.
So Dayton just picked up a 60-mile-an-hour gust at the airport, and and then we're seeing Zach is working at the National Weather Service in Cleveland, so he, they have issued it based upon that those damage reports coming out of Hancock County. So we're, in our area, the wind is starting to intensify just a little bit, but I make sure that you heed to the warning. Stay indoors, away from windows, and let the storm pass. And make sure you have the Bell Park app. I mean, I don't know how many hours we've been doing this today, Nick,
Yeah.
but it's been a long time. I know Adriana's. I don't know. She snuggled up in a blanket probably by now.
I am.
Yeah.
In my PJs underneath the blanket. But
Yeah,
Mike's
so
over there sleeping, but it's all good. But
Eyes are open.
Eyes are
We're
open.
good to go.
yeah, I like it.
yeah. Hey, so I know we were at about 2,000 viewers just a short time ago, but just kind of as a quick reset for you now that we've kind of lost our tornado warnings for the time being, if you're just now tuning in, or perhaps you've been here for a little bit and may not know all of our names. We have meteorologist Adriana Michaels, meteorologist Mike Joyce, and forecaster Nick Dunn, and forecaster Owen Fritz all here with you. Early this morning, we are approaching 1:30, and we are watching a nearly unbroken line of severe thunderstorm warnings from essentially Tiffin to about Maysville, Kentucky. Very impressive line of storms continues, and for some spots, they're not even storms. They're just very heavy, and I'll call them wind showers, I guess, will probably be the best term to use. I know it's not a real meteorological term, but hey, make a little bit light of the situation or make up some new terms as we go along. But we're watching a line of very...
They are kind of wind showers at this point. Not a lot of thunder, a lot of rain, and
yeah.
a lot of wind. Yeah, don't forget Ken is in the comments. If anyone's getting replies, our star of the show, really, Ken in the comments for us today, kind of moderating that. So.
Yes, I did. I didn't even realize that he was in there. I must have completely missed that entire message.
Well, I've been seeing him. He's pretty good at replying back too.
that is fantastic. And also, looks like Zach just sent a message of just past a semi on its side on 24 East near Antwerp. That's in Paulding County. I would have to think that may be storm related and they're still working to get it up, but who knows? That could be the gradient wind starting to kick in once this line passes by. So just because the severe threat ends, we still have the overall wind advisory that kicks in at 8 o'clock in the morning for most locations, and it continues through 6 p.m. So kind of an overall update for you from south to north. We haven't done this in a little while because of our tornado warnings, but let's get you some updated timing. I know that's probably a lot of people's questions too. Starting from Hillsboro, and let's draw this as an actual line. That's not a single cell, it's more of a line, but kind of tracking it off there. Towards the northeast, we're looking at Augusta about 130, Mallorystown 130 as well, Winchester 138, moving there to Bainbridge at about 150, and that's not too far from forecaster Tyler Phillips, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. The southern part of this, there's still an active warning down there for Claremont and Brown County, but that's a lower end severe thunderstorm warning. Another part of the line segment that we're watching that does have a severe thunderstorm warning on it in the northern suburbs of Cincinnati. I know Mike's very familiar with that neck of the woods. Mike, are you seeing anything from down there at all, reports-wise?
Yeah. It does appear that the rainfall rates are very impressive, pretty much all along US 42 from Waynesville through Lebanon, Mason, heading into Sharonville and just north of Wyoming. So places like Blue Ash, Loveland, and of course Deerfield Township, Mason, Mainville, South Lebanon, Kings Island area are just going to get inundated with rain and certainly some wind. Let me take a look at that velocity really quick. Yeah, good gust of wind coming really through most of Warren County. And if you wouldn't mind heading up into right along the Champaign and Clark County line,
Okay.
I am on the Dayton terminal there, and I see two very close regions of some pretty intense straight line wind right off the Dayton radar there. That's going to be, get a better look at it, right along State Route 55, so Urbana.
Yep.
Especially the south side of Urbana and US 68, that's right on top of you pretty much.
Yeah, there's also like another one there, Mike, too, there just to the east of Christiansburg. I think we're kind of talking about the same spot there, but yeah, so we could be seeing some pretty interesting winds there, and also that's just to the north of Northampton there. So this is the Champaign-Clark County line.
Tornado warning.
Where?
There it is.
Champaign until 2 a.m.
Okay, so now we have a new tornado warning now for Champaign County till 2 o'clock. Mike, perfect pick up on that. We'll get that polygon to pop up there for us here. See if I can get to pop up. There we go. Okay, so this does include now the cities of North Louisburg, St. Paris, Urbana, and Mechanicsburg. So if you know anybody in any of these locations right now, now is the time to go ahead excuse me. Now it's time to go ahead and call them, wake them up, let them know it's time to go to their tornado safe places. So, and again, we'll go back over to reflectivity. Mike, this almost appears again where we have a couple of line segments splitting, and now there's a little bit of a comet head feature developing. We've seen this a couple different times tonight.
Yes, and that is a bit of an artifact on the radar, or I should say, like a feature on the radar of rising air. So in areas where you have a little what appears to be a split, what's happening is the air is rising, so it counteracts the gravity, and the rain doesn't fall as fast. So it appears that it's light rain, but it really isn't. That's an area that a potential tornado or rotation could be. The rotating part of a thunderstorm is the part that we have the updraft, where the air is being drawn upwards. So that is a clear sign there of a rotating updraft, and I would 100% guarantee that's the reason why our friends in Wilmington decided to issue the tornado warning for Champaign County until 2 o'clock, is what you said,
Yep.
Owen and Nick?
Yep, that is correct, until 2 o'clock. And real quick, too, as Mike said, you have US 68 here that runs from Northridge up to Urbana. You also have Ohio Route 29, Ohio Route 29 that comes from London up to Mechanicsburg, and then to Urbana, and then eventually over there towards St. Paris. Kind of get our bearings straight here a little bit with you early this morning. And again, this is a radar indicated tornado. And Mike, I don't see any signs of debris from the Wilmington radar, but again, this is one of those situations where it is radar indicated. We don't have any confirmation. But Owen, are you seeing anything from the Weather Service that would signify that there's being debris detected? I'm going to kind of stay with the Dayton terminals. This kind of gives us a little bit better perspective.
No, I mean we're still we're still seeing the considerable damage tag on there for the Champaign, Hardin, Logan. So for the winds of 70 miles an hour. But other than that, I'm not seeing anything at this point. I think it's just due to that slight rotation that we're looking at there. But kind of looking through some other things, more damage coming out of Indiana. Yeah, they're kind of saying this storm's moving east at 55. And nothing really too overzealous on it. I think it's a precautionary measure. It's a good move, and because we've seen the history of these storms kind of putting things up and down tonight.
Yeah, I think if you don't mind me interjecting there, Owen, the history is something that would come into play when you make a decision to issue a warning. Is this is the same section of storm that produced that debris signature on radar back in Miami County. So, like you said, it's a precautionary measure, and we'll have to see what happens here. But especially because it's moving so quickly. So if you're in Union County, Marysville, and then even not too far along from that into Delaware County, we'll have to watch as well.
Yeah, we'll have a new warning too from Marion County, severe thunderstorm. But real quick, Storm Track is here, but you can also in our Bell Park weather app, if you're following along with us, they also have Storm Tracks you can turn on. You'll get this exact type city list. It may not be the exact same per se, but you can also turn those on and kind of look at that. So Urbana 134, Mechanicsburg 144, Milford Center 151, 151, Marysville moving in there at 156. So that's kind of over the next roughly about half hour or so where it's going. I did kind of track it way downstream just to kind of get the correct speed and angle on it there for you, but I do think that this one is moving a little bit more due east and not so much northeast. So I wanted to make sure we had the Mechanicsburg there in the angle there. And then Adriana, I know you've got some good contacts up there around Salina. It seemed like earlier. Have you had any more reports from them up there? I know we had what may or may not have been a tornado.
Yeah, so definitely still getting the same reports that we had before with a few power lines down. I've been checking the AES website. We're due for auto refresh in about a minute, but still almost 13,000 people in the Miami Valley area without power. Before it was about 3,000, now we're up to 12,666. So definitely seeing the effects of that wind for sure as it's moved through. So we can kind of expect people watching right now, maybe in the Columbus area or even heading into eastern Ohio. Power outages are definitely very likely with this.
Yeah, it would appear so. And those noises that you're hearing in the background, those are some folks sending in some stars to us. So we appreciate that. Your contributions mean a lot to us. But real quick, warnings-wise now, another piece of good news here with us is that with the exception of one warning down in Brown and Claremont County, all warnings are along and north of I-70. So again, we talk about these little victories, as we call them, as we're starting to see things weaken. It's been a very gradual process, as we've kind of mentioned. But real quick, too, I'm also watching, ironically, right near the Honda plant. We may see this try to split off a little bit here in eastern Logan County, moving into Union County. So we'll watch and see what happens with that here over the next few minutes. But now, if you're west of US 68, your severe threat is over if you are north of I-70. Obviously, if you're down to the south towards Wilmington and the Ohio River, and you're right there along that US 68 corridor, your severe threat is still with us. But again, right now we're kind of watching Champaign County, where that tornado warning is currently in effect. Let's take you back to the terminal Doppler radar. We'll kind of get you a little bit closer look at this. Turn on the velocity, and Mike, it's very subtle, but I still see the same two spots that you pointed out right before that tornado warning was issued. They're still there.
Yeah, they still are. So that's just south of downtown Urbana, and it looks like to me, just judging by the storm motion, it's probably going to ride along US 36 into far northern Madison County, like right along the line, and then into Union County there. So folks in Marysville, you should at least be watching to see if the Weather Service decides to extend this tornado warning into Union County, including Marysville, maybe stretching as far south as Plain City. That's a little bit away, but again, this is moving fast. So again, I would say southern half of Union County, just be ready. Even if it does show some signs of weakening, we're starting to get a little bit farther away from the Dayton radar, so it's harder to get a good picture of it. But yeah, I'm still pretty impressed by that wind signature. Now moving on to the immediate southeast side of downtown Urbana. So again, this is going to be US 36 from downtown Urbana to the Champaign Union County line that we really have to watch for this. And yeah, it doesn't look super impressive on reflectivity, on rain detection, but I do see a couple of gaps there, Nick, where it could still indicate a bit of an updraft.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't sure if that was our Google chat beeping there. Owen, did you have something?
Yeah, I hit the wrong button, but
I was just gonna say, what was that noise? I haven't heard that all.
I raised my hand. Sorry, that was the wrong button. But no, I was just going to say I unmuted myself. But I was just going to say they updated the warning now, and it's moving directly east. They're saying it's located over Urbana, moving east at 65 miles an hour. Looking at correlation coefficient, you see a little bit of something there in the last couple scans, but it has weakened considerably over the last two scans, which is a good sign. So we'll have to see what happens here. But they're talking about dropping some of the watches off to the west, which makes sense. But again, is there just enough potential, as Mike says, for a few more isolated tornadoes this evening? That is the question. Hold on. So, update from Wilmington. They're continuing the tornado warning through part of Champaign County. There's no confirmation of a tornado from radar, but there's at least some very strong winds that have moved through or just south of Urbana and moving east from there toward Mutual and Mechanicsburg. So that's what they're saying. So they're not seeing, it's kind of what they're seeing is they're not seeing any confirmation, but they're going to go ahead and continue it more as a precautionary measure, probably, and let it run its course and expire on time.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Owen. Real quick, too, if you know anybody living in Mechanicsburg, but this moving due east might pass just north. But again, as of a course of least regret, you may just want to call them and let them know that they are currently in that tornado warning and that they need to be taking shelter. I do see the signs that hopefully this will continue to remain disjointed and not overly impressive. You're probably hearing some of the very heavy rain here at my house. Yeah, go ahead, Adriana.
Two things. One, a lot of people in the comments are saying that a tornado was confirmed in Urbana. That is not true. We did not have any confirmation that there was a tornado on the ground. It is an active warning right now. I know that that's kind of circulating. And then two, Nick, everyone wants to know what you're eating.
Oh, what I'm eating, I'm having a cough drop. You may have heard me kind of
All the comments are like, blue shirt, tell us what you're eating.
So I Apologize about that, guys. I didn't realize anybody heard me put that in my mouth, so I apologize
You
about that.
no, but everyone just know Nick has been literally on this live stream since what, 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Something along those lines. I'm not
Solid
real
since
sure.
about 8. We did one stint and two, and
That's
not
right, we
only
did.
has
Yep.
Not only has Nick been on it, but he has been standing the
Yeah.
entire time.
I learned my lesson last time. I have shoes on. It's flip flops, but I was in bare feet last time. I won't do that again. But wearing shoes this time. But no, so again, folks, just kind of real quick, I appreciate the concern and the updates. And if you're hungry at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm not sure this is the right video for you, but hey, we're here. We're going to get you through it. So real quick, too, just a real quick recap on other severe thunderstorm warnings. We still have Seneca, Wyandotte, and Crawford here until 2 o'clock in the morning. They've just issued a new one now for Champaign, Delaware, Hardin, Logan, Union, and Madison until 2:30. 70-mile-per-hour winds. That's going to be a continuation of that cell that's right there around the Honda plant down to about Mechanicsburg, where we have that tornado warning. Severe thunderstorm warning continues for Marion County until 2:15 in the morning. I'll get that new polygon to pop up here. There appears to be at least a couple of issues tonight, perhaps with some of the data feeds. We've had a level 2 radar issue earlier, and I'm having to turn the polygons off and on to get them to populate. But nevertheless, here's your newest warning now. It includes the city of Delaware, and as Mike said, Marysville and points to the east. And again, that 70-mile-per-hour threshold continues. The good news is I'm not seeing a ton of reports of anything over 60, which, again, that's good. But we're going to have to watch and see how things progress here over the next several minutes. So Columbus right now, a quick update for you. Pretty strong and a heavy rain shower, if you will. And Mike and I can hear it for sure. It's coming down pretty good in our neck of the woods. If you go up towards Hilliard and Dublin, it's a little lighter. Nice little line segment here, maybe some gusty winds. I haven't checked my Tempest in a little bit, but nothing overly substantial going on here. For those of you southeastern Greene County, down into Warren and Clinton County, the line, I will say, may have a little bit more bark than a bite here just because we don't have a warning necessarily, but there's still some very intense rainfall rates here, and we're likely seeing some gusty winds. That's about to pass right over the Wilmington Weather Service office, so if anything does happen, I'm sure they will pop up a warning on that. Let's go back to our... Go ahead, Owen.
No, they just expired the tornado watch for a lot of counties in Ohio and Indiana. So for Ohio, Auglaize, Butler, Dark, Hamilton, Mercer, Miami, Montgomery, Preble, and Shelby, they have let the tornado watch expire. So pretty much as it moves through, it's over, and you're good for the evening. Now you're going to see, you're going to hear winds pick up overnight as we're expected to have a very, very windy day tomorrow. And I'm getting hit right now. I'm getting blasted right now. So that gust front arrival is here in Sandusky County. We just got a report out of Putnam County. Oh, no, that's a delayed report of 65 miles an hour. But
Okay.
I'm getting blasted right now here in Sandusky County. So very interesting. They do tag that tornado possible for that severe thunderstorm warning now. They continued it for Champaign, Clark, Greene, and Madison until 2 a.m.
Okay, and that's interesting too, because that's the one that's for the London area. Okay, I see that there. I will say reflectivity, and Adriana living in the Dayton area can tell us there's not, oh, and there it goes. They just kind of dropped some of it back, but I don't see a whole lot going on. And Adriana, I know that the line of storms is past you. Is the wind still kind of picking up a little bit back behind it?
Honestly, right now I'm kind of in a lull. So I
Okay.
live just south of kind of near the Kettering area there, and definitely seeing just like that little pocket of some quietness. But I know that the winds are expected to stay strong. Obviously, kind of just consistent through the day tomorrow as well. It was pretty bad though. About an hour-ish, maybe even a half hour ago, things were really picking up. The dog did not like it. So the system, as it's moving through, obviously leaving those strong winds with it too. But right now it's a little quieter out, so I'm not too mad about that. And I know a lot of people are asking in the comments. I would just say probably heading towards the Columbus area where we're seeing the strong.
We have a new tornado warning. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Okay.
I thought
All
we
right.
did.
Oh, wow, that's a large polygon. Goodness. And that's
Wow.
going to be right there near the Honda plant, as I kind of mentioned.
Delaware and Union counties until 2:15.
Yep, so we now have 2 active tornado warnings. Real quick, just an update on the one from the Mechanicsburg area, and we haven't
Hold
talked
on
about
one
it.
more second. So, northern Union County they're saying the tornado warning's out for that storm, showing circulation. Wasn't there before. So that's got the terminal. So they're looking at terminal on that one out of Columbus.
Okay. Real quick too, just kind of getting you back into the Mechanicsburg tornado warning. Urbana, Mutual, you're good. Woodstock, Mechanicsburg, we still got to stay in that safe place here for just a few more minutes. I will say, again, it's very subtle. We've seen this time and time and time again. And Adriana said these storms weaken and then they seem to find a pocket or something of that nature, and they just kind of pick back up again. But right here, just in between Mechanicsburg and the Woodstock area here, really now just north of Mechanicsburg, if there's anything at all, it's going to be right there. That's going to be just north of the Ohio Route 29 there, north of the Sandusky Street area there. You've also not too far from you're kind of the downtown Mechanicsburg area. There's a lot of like small little shops and little businesses. So this is really just kind of north of town there, really, if we're going to see anything there. Jumping up to Union and Delaware counties here real quick, looking at velocity here. Yeah, I kind of see what they're talking about there, Owen, right there near to Richwood and West Mansfield, kind of in between there. Did you say they noticed that on Wilmington or Columbus? I forgot what you said.
TCMH. They were looking at TCMH, so they were looking at Columbus.
Okay. I can flip over to that real quick. And
Good night, meteorologist Adriana Mike Davies, Michaels. Good night.
Whatever you want. I'm whatever you want to call me tonight.
Good night to you.
Yeah, I'm headed to bed now, I think, guys. So I'm gonna I'll let you take over from here, but my area is clear and I am signing off. So
Amen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adriana. We appreciate you.
No problem.
Have a good
guys.
night.
I'll see you in the morning, I'm sure.
Yep, most certainly.
Good night, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, so now we have Owen Fritz, Mike Joyce, and myself here. I'm Nick Dunn. And is that another warning there that we're hearing?
That's I didn't clear it off my phone, so it's going off again.
I got you. Okay. So real quick, looking at the terminal Doppler in Columbus, I kind of see what they're talking about up here. So the Honda plant, just for reference, kind of sits right where that red and orange pocket is. So they're probably seeing some fairly intense winds. My grandmother used to work here, and I know that they have very strict tornado procedures, and obviously that's more like a 24/7 type operation. So I'm sure that they're in their safe places at this time. But we're talking now Marysville up here to Richwood and Magnetic Springs, Ostrander, Delaware, and Mike. I continue. We've seen this now with the last several tornado warnings, where there's no lightning going on. So these folks are not going to hear these storms coming in.
Right. It's another scary part of all of this is some of our typical signals of strong storms just aren't there. Like you said, here on the south side of Columbus, it's windy out there. I can hear the rain. I can hear the wind. But that's not necessarily enough to wake up some of our heavier sleepers. So we hear all that weather radio alert noise, the EAS tones going off in the backgrounds. That's something you want. It might sound irritating. It's designed to be irritating. It's designed to be ominous, to get you up, get you out of bed at 1:48 in the morning, when these tend to be very dangerous just because of how many people are asleep. It's just normal human nature to be asleep at this hour. Right now it does look like some of the concerning areas are north of Marysville, like the Honda plant, which, like you said, is a 24-hour operation. A lot of folks work there. It's a big part of the Central Ohio community. And then that threat will shift into Delaware County, maybe even southern Marion County near Waldo and Prospect. So that's going to be State Route 47, State Route 229, and then US Route 23 from Delaware up to about Waldo. Those are some areas soon enough I would be concerned about this. Again, this data is coming off of the terminal Doppler radar out near Pataskala, Ohio, which is a good probably 30 miles from this spot, but it gives us a good view of the lower levels of this storm, because when it comes to our National Weather Service radar, this is kind of a little bit of a rough zone just because it's so far from Wilmington and so far from Cleveland. At least having this view out of the Columbus Airport radar, we're getting something that's concerning. Weather Service sees it, we see it. We need to stay on this and make sure that anyone in Northern Union and Delaware County is safe with us this evening.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, Owen, if Brandt has not already sent you an email, he kind of wanted to come in and, I know Adriana just went to bed, and we kind of keep our team of 4 going here for, a little while longer. I'm not sure if Mike needs to go or if you needed to go, but if you wanted to send him an email to join, we'll get him added in here shortly as well. So, Sounds good, Mike. Thank you very much. And real quick, just kind of update you now from top to bottom here. Southeastern Seneca County, East Central Wyandotte County through Crawford County, we're seeing a little line segment there. Marion County seems to kind of be getting the worst of it right now in terms of the line segment, but this tornado warning that continues here for northern Union County, you kind of see the spin, and I know you kind of see the radar kind of skipping there a little bit. Again, there have been a few intermittent issues tonight with the radar sites, it kind of seems like, but we are seeing just a little bit of a spin here. And any time that we see that on the reflectivity loop, we do throw at least somewhat of a caution out there that a tornado warning is going to be possible. And now that we have one, a brief tornado is possible. And Owen, is there any mention of them adding any portion of Marion or even Morrow County since this is so close to Cleveland?
No, and it's been quiet, and we're getting, like you said, we're getting ready to cross boundaries here, and it's been fairly quiet out of Cleveland right now, but we're just gonna have to kind of wait and see. I don't see as strong as it once was, but again, we're still tapping into some of that little energy that's left behind, and we'll have to wait and see. But nothing at this moment out of Cleveland or anything of that nature. That we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued for Brown, Claremont, Clinton, Fayette, Greene, Highland, Madison, Warren until 2:30. So it's a fairly big polygon, and there is an unconfirmed report of a 70-mile-an-hour gust up in Ottawa County and Clay Center. We're going to say that's unconfirmed at this point, but a storm spotter has reported that. So definitely windy on that gust front arrival here, but we'll have to continue to watch that. But yeah, kind of being the good news, I'm waiting to see what the National Weather Service is going to do out ahead of this. My guess would be a severe thunderstorm warning, and I'm surprised we haven't seen one yet. But we'll have to wait and see here. But it's we're kind of midway through this warning right now, so decision time's coming here for Cleveland in just a few moments.
Yeah, most certainly. Real quick, here's a quick look at that updated warning. And as I kind of said, this was going to be passing over the Wilmington office, and I apologize if you hear some noise. My cat is wanting to give his input, our meteorologist, if you will, wanting to give his input on, he's not very happy with the storms that are still ongoing here at almost 2 o'clock in the morning, but we are here and with it. I will say, this line that's kind of passing through the Wilmington office does not have any lightning with it. So while it is called a severe thunderstorm warning, it's more of a wind shower, essentially. I'll go back to that term I used a little earlier. It's a gusty line of showers producing some potentially damaging wind gusts. So we're watching it now. I will say the line that's actually down here to Highland County, portions of Claremont County, Brown and Adams County, we are watching that. That appears to have a little bit better of a look to it, and we may be seeing some really intense wind with that. And there's also, real quick, just of note, we have one tornado warning south of the river in Cynthiana, Kentucky. So just want to kind of point that out for those of you in far southern Ohio, just to kind of keep our eyes out on that. We'll take you back up and look at this tornado. Yeah, go ahead, Owen.
No, I was just going to say they trimmed that warning back a little bit, but they still continued it. So they're still saying it's moving east at 45 miles an hour near Richwood. And so radar indicated rotation, and they're still continuing here, and they're still letting it roll until what is that, 2:15, I think.
Yeah, and it looks like to me that the spot there near Richwood, I was just kind of circling it there with my finger there, kind of imaginarily, if you will, but you can see how that kind of hooks back down right there near Richwood, just a little bit. And again, it's so subtle, it's really subtle, but we've seen this so many times tonight. And Mike, it's happening again, but we have just enough. And sometimes, we think, we like to think that 1,000 Cape, is really good. Tonight we're talking like 100, maybe 200 Cape, if that. And we're seeing this. So it's really impressive to see that with just maybe the match is not fully lit, but even just a partially lit match is setting things off.
Right, exactly. It's like the match isn't fully lit, but there's a bunch of oxygen, and there's maybe a little bit of fuel laying around too, some propane or something like that. There's enough of the other ingredients that it's making up for the lack of instability. Not only that, I think those, like you just mentioned, those thunderstorms that are still thunderstorms with lightning 2 hours south, that's really where that energy is. It's a little elevated, so in those areas, we're not as maybe concerned about a tornadic threat spinning up. But what's happening in Union and Delaware County is, even though we don't have as much updraft strength, we have just enough rotation and twisting at the lower levels of the atmosphere that we can get those those spin ups. Essentially, this isn't going to be an EF3, EF4 tornado, but it could be EF0, 1, or 2 maybe, where we can get that brief area where it's not widespread, but 1 or 2 spots are going to get potentially some pretty significant damage. And that's why this tornado warning is there, because it's hard to pinpoint exactly which properties and which people that'll be, but we're pretty sure it's going to be within that area of northern Delaware County and northeastern Union County, according to that latest update. So that's why we continue this tornado warning. And if any damage does occur, a survey will happen, and we'll find out exactly what happened and just further our science into the future.
Absolutely. Real quick, seeing, looks like we have a new severe thunderstorm warning for Crawford, Erie, Huron, Morrow, Richland, and Seneca till 2:45. In addition, we are seeing a lot of comments here. Power flickering in Willard, power flickering in Marion. No surprise there at all. Huron County power flickering. So very interesting to kind of see that we're seeing all those power outages. I don't have an exact number in front of me in terms of what we're looking like statewide, but obviously, as Adriana said before she hopped off, well over 10,000 just in the Miami Valley alone from AES Ohio. So we'll try to see if we can get you an updated number statewide here momentarily. But again, a tornado warning continues. Yeah, go ahead, Owen.
No, I do have a number for you.
What you got?
We're looking at. So out of Ohio right now, we're at about 34,000 people without power in Ohio. And again, those are going to continue to go up. Now in Indiana, there's 3.1 million people without power this evening. But looking here in Ohio, the heaviest hit right now is Henry County with about 5,000 people without power. And then moving down into Mercer County and Dart County, combined right there, about 22,000 people. Over in Auglaize, 6,000 people, almost 7,000 people now out of power. So we're continuing to see that increase. So there's a lot of power outages there. So 34,000, but most of that's concentrated in West Central Ohio. But we'll have to watch that here. And still nothing out of Cleveland. So we're still going to have to wait and see what they got going on there. But I do definitely see where they're talking about near Richwood. And so if you're out ahead of this, Prospect and Waldo, you're just outside of that warning. You're in a severe thunderstorm warning, but that would be kind of the areas I'd be watching too if you're in any one of those communities. Kind of your heads up here if this decides to continue to rotate. Over the last scan or two, it's weakened a little bit, so hopefully it continues on that trend. But you're just outside that polygon for Prospect and Waldo, so make sure you're heeding that advice as well.
Yeah, and Mike, the wind has just really picked up here. I don't know if you just noticed that, but
Yeah.
The wind has definitely picked up here in Columbus. But again, as I know Adriana was asking, a lot of you were asking if we are safe. We are good here in Columbus. No warnings at the present moment. But off to the north, real quick update track on this tornado warning. We're looking at Galleon at 203, Lexington 214, obviously Richwood right now. We're also looking at the Prospect and Green Camp areas south of Marion there. You're talking within just the next couple of minutes, you're going to be seeing that coming through, or pretty much right now. Loudonville at 232. Real quick, I know Richland County is one of our highest viewing audiences. You guys are under a severe thunderstorm warning now. That newer warning does encompass more of northern Ohio, basically now from Sandusky all the way down to Mansfield with a severe thunderstorm warning. Let's switch you just briefly over to the Cleveland area. This also all the way goes down to portions of Morrow County. Kind of surprised they didn't just include the extreme southern part of the county there. That's kind of interesting. See if I can get the radar to pull up here for us. And, oh, that's not the right color. There we go. So, again, kind of a squiggly line of wind showers, or just a squiggly line of gusty rain showers working across the region here early this morning. But these gusts have been strong enough to produce power outages, wind damage, and other issues. So, really right now, again, from pretty much Marion through Bucyrus, Willard, Norwalk, Sandusky, up to, again, North Bass Island, South Bass Island, Cedar Point. Obviously, I know it's 2 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody up there, and you know, kind of, obviously Cedar Point's not open right now, but just kind of giving you some geographical landmarks. It's about where that line is. So Shelby, you're going to be getting here pretty shortly. Norwalk, this is coming into you as well. Lexington, Tyro, a couple locations there as well. Mount Gilead, you guys are in the path of that. So that's a real quick look at the northern part of this. And really, I do think that the tornado warning will likely be allowed to expire on time. Owen, are they mentioning anything about letting that go early?
Um, yeah, as a matter of fact, they are. They literally just. Hold on. How? Um, yes, so they're saying the storm of the tornado warning is currently moving in Delaware County. The tornado warning will be dropped for Union in the next update.
Okay.
So they're still going to kind of let it run its course. Another update, just to kind of piggyback off of that 70-mile-an-hour unconfirmed report in Ottawa County. Ottawa County Sheriff's Office up in the Oak Harbor area in the western half of the county. There's trees and power lines down, they're saying, everywhere, and that's pretty broad. But so there's a lot of power lines and trees down there in the western half of Ottawa County. So that would be looking towards Oak Harbor and points back there. So that's a report out of there. We have a severe thunderstorm warning now issued for Highland, Adams, Pike, Ross, and Scioto County. Nothing tagged there, but that's just been issued until 2:45.
All right, so we continue to kind of move on through here. Just want to kind of point out that, again, we're in an environment now where there is not an active watch, okay? And obviously they sometimes elect to not issue those as as the conditions warrant. But you said there was a new warning. I'm waiting for that to pop up. You said that was for Ross, Pike, and Scioto. Okay, there it is. Until 2:45. There's 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So, City of Chillicothe. I know the last time we had a storm down here at the beginning of March, on March 3rd, we had a lot of folks from Chillicothe. So, if you guys are up with us, good morning to you. You guys are about to get awakened here and rocked by some very strong winds and some pretty heavy rain, and maybe even there's actually a good amount of lightning on that particular storm right now, kind of working through Ross and Pike and Adams and Scioto counties. So that'll be moving over into the Middle Ohio Valley shortly. So should warnings continue over there, we'll keep trucking along if necessary. But real quick, wanted to update too from Mount Sterling down to Washington Courthouse, southeastern Clinton County. That line not looking as impressive, but still you're going to be seeing a lot of very heavy rain and some very gusty winds, and those could also even be damaging at times as we continue to kind of work on through the evening. So that's the early morning hours, I should say. Goodness, it's been a long one for us. But that's kind of an update there on the south end of things. Going back to the north briefly, again, we have this tornado warning for Union and Delaware County. I suppose it is just clipping the northern portion of Delaware County, looking from the Cleveland radar right there. So it's just the very, very northern portion of Delaware County. But if I were in Waldo, you're probably already either asleep or perhaps you're in your safe place. We'll just kind of hang out there for a little bit longer. Cardington, over there to Mount Gilead, Fulton, Marengo. You're going to be seeing this coming through with, and of course I know Owen is keeping a close eye on the Cleveland chat, and if he sees anything that they're going to issue a warning, he will obviously interrupt me and let me. He'll raise his hand and let me know what's going on. But Owen, is there any talk, maybe like southwestern Huron County? I'm just seeing a couple different interesting looks on reflectivity, kind of based on the past history of the last several hours tonight. Just the overall reflectivity looks kind of odd.
No, honestly, not, Nick. That's been very quiet. They're kind of concerned with some of that stuff that's been coming out of Ottawa County. I just checked some things here, and at my house, we had a gust of 42.
Okay.
And then in Tiffin, at the Tiffin University weather station, checked in about 48 in Seneca County. So that one is mounted properly at 33 and a third, or whatever it is, up in the atmosphere. But nothing really. They did drop the Union County out as they said they were going to do. So it just remains there for Delaware.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And again, we're kind of watching eastern Crawford County, at least to me, where this line is kind of splitting again. And we've seen this countless times tonight where the line splits and we get a brief tornado warning to pop up. So we're watching that. But again, Shelby, Mansfield, New London, you guys are in the path next. Lexington, you as well. Mike, I know you're very familiar with that area up there. Your family up and watching this one for us? Or do you think they're in bed?
I think a couple people are still awake up there. Yeah, no, I'm familiar with the Lexington area. Went to Lexington High School and spent my whole childhood up in the south side of Mansfield. So very familiar with the area. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride for a little bit for a little while there in north central Ohio. And one thing Owen and Nick have been talking about are the power outages. I think that's going to continue to be a possibility for those folks in these new warnings as we go throughout the night. Potentially, folks who don't wake up may be waking up to no power, which can be a problem. And Owen, I just wanted to ask you a question about a stat you threw out a little bit earlier. Did you say 3 million people in Indiana are without power? Or something along the lines of that?
Yes. So, according to the latest number, let me refresh the map.
I've never seen a number that high, to be honest.
No, I got it backwards. Wow, it's been a long night. I read the wrong line. 107,000. That's better.
Okay, I was going to say 3 million would be half the state's population, which I suppose could be possible, but whoa, that would be
the whole state. What are we talking?
Horrible. Yeah, that would be horrible.
Thank you for correcting me on that.
Yeah, hey, that's what we're all here as a team for. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yes, our Indiana outages as a statewide are over 100,000. Looking at elsewhere across the nation where tornadoes hit hard today, Arkansas 58,000, Tennessee 54,000, Illinois sitting at 67,000, and Ohio is now approaching 39,000. And Darke County has the most percentage out, with about 28% of the county is currently without power early this morning. So we're keeping a very close eye on all of that for you. Chillicothe seeing some comments. It's very loud with lots of thunder and lightning. Not disagreeing with you whatsoever. And I'm sorry, I see there Henry County too. But we're going to continue to watch this closely. And so real quick, just as a kind of an update for you, once the tornado warning drops, we are going to bounce off and we will still be on standby, which is a good thing. Obviously, we lose the tornado warnings and that's good, but we'll still be here. We'll keep you updated, but we continue to see some things on the downtrend, seeing fewer and fewer reports coming in. So we don't want to overkill the situation by any means. But again, watching Chillicothe, Waverly there, the US 23, Ohio Route 104 corridor getting hit pretty hard right now. Then into Franklin and Pickaway County here, Pickerington and Lithopolis, Canal Winchester getting hit pretty good. And then Harrisburg right down US 62. It's almost making an exact line right now on US 62. From Harrisburg down to Courthouse and down there into northwestern portions of Highland County, seeing a good line coming through. There is a severe thunderstorm warning on that one. Looks like that goes until 2:30 in the morning for that area. 60-mile-per-hour winds possible there. Also, Mercer County seeing a good amount of outages, kind of as Adriana reported there. Going back to our tornado warning really quick. Again, it's really close, but again, Ashley is about the only spot left in Delaware County that's going to be the path of this, and then it's going to cross into Morrow County, and this one expires at 2:15, I do believe. So we'll be seeing what they're going to do with that, but we could see southern Morrow County, so essentially Marengo and right there around Ashley could be placed under a severe thunderstorm warning, potentially just because the rest of the county already is. We'll just say you should probably assume that you are, and just make sure that you're staying inside and away from windows and let the storm pass by. I really don't want to call it a storm because there's no lightning, but that's kind of what we default to. Looking up to the north, I just got a message from Chris Kelly, who I am good friends with in Shelby in northwestern Richland County, and he said that the winds are absolutely crazy right there, and as you can see, the main part of the line has yet to even hit Shelby, so now it's starting to get a little bit closer there on that latest scan, but you can see right there around Tyro, down to Crestline, over there to Galleon, all the way to about Plymouth there in southern portions of we Huron County there, and then again crossing through Shelby. Really interesting, powerful line of gusty showers and a few rumbles of thunder continuing. And in fact, what really is impressive is all of our lightning at this point is in east central Ohio, portions of our West Virginia counties, and south central Ohio. And Mike, that's kind of odd. You know, then those are storms that are way ahead of the actual cold front here, and it's just kind of odd. Normally, it's not that way.
Yeah, I'm looking at the surface map right now, and you're right. The cold front is way behind. I mean, we don't see temperatures even dipping into the 40s until you get into Illinois.
Yeah.
So these thunderstorms haven't seemed to affect temperature in Dew Point all that much in Indiana, which the storms have been past there for 2, 3, 4 hours now. So I don't expect us to get cold until tomorrow, even some spots in eastern Ohio tomorrow afternoon. But it will be a blustery and chilly Saturday evening for us, so brace for that. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case right now, but Yeah, it's going to be a big change, but thankfully it's going to be a short-term change because next week temperatures will be back into the 70s, maybe even upper 70s by midweek. So we
Yep.
will have a renewed chance of spring showers and storms with that, but at least the warmth uh, is not far away. This is going to be a brief cool down. It just so happened that this time around we had all the dynamics together, and it produced a ton of severe weather across our country today.
It sure did. And now forecaster Brant Warren has joined us. Brant, I know you're down in Pickaway County. How are the winds in your area? It looks like you may have actually just been put under a severe thunderstorm warning until 3 o'clock.
Yep, actually just got the notification for it. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so it's been pretty. I joined in on the tail end of that call there, but yeah, Mike, you're right. We have had a terrible day for weather across our country today. And we're getting a little taste of it here in Ohio. And I am getting the alert across that, yes, I was placed um, under that severe thunderstorm warning. The wind is picking up here. You can really feel it almost shake the house. You can hear the rain coming down. It's very torrential. So Nick, yeah, just getting in here, getting settled here, but conditions are picking up down here.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, we're going to add in just as of a kind of a quick update here too for our folks over on the Mid Ohio Valley weather update. Now that we have a warning for Hocking County, we might see some of our. I know we've kind of lost some audience here this evening. Real quick, Southern Franklin County, all of Pickaway, northwestern Ross, west central portions of Fairfield, and northwestern Hocking County. A new severe thunderstorm warning continues until 3 o'clock in the morning for 60-mile-per-hour winds. And don't be surprised if you actually get awakened, as Brant said. I know where he lives, and I know that the wind can shake his house, can shake my house, can shake anybody's house, and it might be enough just to wake you up and you realize, well, where's the thunder? I didn't get any kind of heads up. We are so accustomed to hearing thunder for a storm coming, but this early in the morning you're not going to hear it unless you are way in advance of these storms, and where some other renegade showers and storms have popped up, and you will obviously hear the thunder and lightning then. But with where the severe thunderstorm warnings actually are, which is right now, again, kind of concentrated Columbus and Point South at this particular point in time. That's where we have the most concentration of warnings. Our tornado warning in Delaware County should fall off any time. Owen, any updates on if they're going to do anything with that, or are they just going to let it ride, or is Cleveland going to pick anything up on that?
No, from what I can tell, what's going to happen is they're just going to let it ride. So it's going to expire here in about 90 seconds.
Yep.
And once that's over, then we will be tornado free or tornado warning free at this point. And then we will, obviously have this line that's starting to become a little bit broken across the Buckeye State as it races off to the east and kind of steamrolls here into the eastern part of Ohio. I have to wait and see what happens. Again, the wind on ahead of this, as I was reporting earlier, we were getting winds in Mansfield at 60 miles an hour. An hour before the front got there, so there was definitely some winds way out ahead of this. So people are probably just starting to get that in the eastern portion of Ohio as well. And like you said, temperatures are not cooling down yet. So it's been really weird here in my house this evening because I've had the heat turned up, the heat turned down, so it's been really weird and eerie. But I will say we are getting a lot of damage reports coming out of Allen County,
Okay.
and some portions coming out of some of that eastern Miami County. So we're looking at that, and then lots of them coming in out of the areas we covered, 6 hours ago in the Indianapolis and north of Indianapolis area too. So there's a lot going on over there.
Yeah, and real quick, Owen, speaking on that, I don't mean to interrupt you, but one of the reports I've got it popped up on the screen just to show the intensity. And again, this happened with no lightning or thunder when it passed through, but several grain bins are torn down in the Wapakoneta area with a medium-sized brick building partially torn down. So that's probably one of the more impressive reports. New tornado warning
has been issued for Delaware until 2:45.
Ah, yes,
That is interesting. Okay, so they're going to
near Ashley, moving east at 55.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to be hanging out with you guys for a little while
That's
longer here this morning. So we have a new tornado warning now for Delaware County until 2:45 in the morning. I honestly don't see much, but let's go ahead and take a look at it from Wilmington. The Columbus terminal sometimes is not the best. I'll defer to meteorologist Mike Joyce. Mike, what are you seeing? I'm not seeing a whole lot here, honestly.
No, I do see on the Wilmington radar's base velocity, if you look right near the US 42 symbol and the 229, I mean, it'll look a little different on your radar, but I am seeing a very small region of inbound, outbound
Okay.
on the velocity here. Yep. I see your feed here. So that's probably what they're seeing. And I have done some storm spotting in this area. It's a difficult area to do it, even more so at night, because you're relying completely. Okay, here I've got a newer scan here. I can see what they were. I can see what they were thinking, and it's a difficult area because we're getting a sample of the atmosphere at about 6,000 feet. And the Cleveland radar isn't any better. We're like right in between the two, so it's hard to get a good sample. Actually, yeah, it's about almost 7,000 feet from Wilmington, and from Cleveland, it's about let's see, about 8,000. So yeah, we're well off the ground here. But the fact that they see this, and in conjunction with what is lining up on reflectivity, meaning there's an area of weak precipitation right on top of that velocity region, does show that, okay, this is where a potential spin up could be. My only concern is why Southern Morrow isn't included. I don't know if
I would agree with that. Owen, are you seeing anything there for Morrow County?
No, not at this point. I mean,
Okay.
I agree with you, but no.
Okay. Definitely a good point there. Real quick, too, we did add in our Mid-Ohio Live Weather Update audience. So a good early morning to you, or perhaps a good late evening to you, depending on how your perspective is. I'm forecaster Nick Dunn, along with meteorologist Mike Joyce, forecaster Brant Warren, and forecaster Owen Fritz. We're tracking a long-lived line of severe thunderstorms capable of producing damaging winds. And right now, if you are in the Mid-Ohio Valley, two areas of concern. Then we got to bounce back to a tornado warning real quick. We have one line here in which actually looks relatively impressive across Pike County, moving up through portions of Ross County. That's about to move right into Hocking, Vinton, and Jackson counties. So we'll see if the Weather Service in Charleston is going to add any warnings to this. But at this, and actually speak of that, wow, a very large polygon just coming out from Charleston there. Perry, Morgan, Athens, Vinton. And Cleveland too?
And Cleveland just issued a mega gun.
Okay, that makes sense. So Perry, Morgan, Athens, Vinton, Jackson, Gallia, and Lawrence, a new severe thunderstorm warning. This goes until 3 a.m., moving east at 55. And Owen, what's the northern warning? I do not have that one up yet.
The mega gun? Oh, you'll see it.
Oh, okay, there it is. So Cuyahoga, Lorain, Medina, Ashland, Wayne, Knox, and Holmes counties, a severe thunderstorm warning until 3 o'clock. So we continue to see these storms progressing east. Brant, it's interesting. We don't have a watch, but yet we are continuing to see all of these warnings issued. And how are conditions now in the area that the worst of it, at least temporarily, seems to have passed?
Well, I think I'm actually in between two line segments. We had that first one that had a lot of rain associated with it and some wind. It looks like there's a heavier one coming on the backside here. But I think that I think what they might be doing here is based on the history of this line of storms. I think they just might be out of precaution, kind of issuing out ahead of this to let you know that, hey, this has done some damage back in parts of western Ohio and eastern Indiana, and just trying to give you a heads up of what's heading your way.
Yeah, and real quick too, another report just coming in. The entire town of Ney up in Defiance County has no power. The entire town. That's a report there from Amateur Radio. Just happened to kind of hover over that and just kind of see that there. So real quick, seeing some questions for Pike County. There is no tornado warning. Saw a couple comments with that. I've gotten a couple messages. We have no tornado warning right now in Pike County. We do have one in Delaware County. We'll get back to that one in just a second. But east central Ross County and portions of Pike County, this is a severe thunderstorm warning, and this is one line. There's a second kind of weaker line, if you will, from Hillsborough up to about, let's say, the Rickenbacker International Airport, roughly. and that also has the potential for severe weather. But as we saw earlier with the line in northwest Indiana, again, we're going back, quite a long ways at this particular point in time. If this back line kind of catches up to the main line, we'll go down to one line first of all, but second of all, as the second line kind of tries to move into the same area where the first line is kind of already hitting, that area is being worked over considerably with what little bit of instability we have. So that back line may start to weaken just a little bit as we continue to kind of progress on through. Let's go back up to our tornado warning here real quick. And again, now it's interesting here, I would be shocked if they don't just drop the tornado warning. There is barely a drop of rain right now falling in Delaware County at the moment. Owen, are you seeing anything from the Weather Service chat out of Wilmington at the moment?
No, all is quiet right now, really. The RLX is jumping in a little bit, but they're saying maybe there'll be some wind or some storms down stream a little bit that could tap into some energy. But yeah, not much going on there. I mean, we're just getting plenty of damage reports back in Mercer County, Allen County, and we're dealing with that, but not much out of the other one. They're saying there's some rotation. This comes not from the National Weather Service, but another, our friend and colleague, Buck Michael, or Andrew Michael, I should say, rotation between Ashley and Marengo on terminal out of Columbus.
Okay, I will go take a look at that here shortly. But real quick, before I do that, I've seen a lot of questions. Am I clear? I just drew a line on the screen and I pointed the arrow to the left. If you are west of that line that I just drew, you are in the clear for severe weather. You can log off the stream. You can head to bed. Your severe weather threat has ended. Just keep in mind it will be gusty through the rest of the night tonight. And we still have the wind advisory and high wind warning moving into the rest of the day today, starting later this morning, moving through this evening. So again, if you are west of that line that I just drew, you are all clear at this point in time. And it looks like, Owen, we have another new warning for Scioto. I'm sorry, I thought that said Seneca at first, but looks like a new one just popped up there for portions of Scioto County. So I guess you're in the clear now too, technically. Don't worry about that. Let's get you back into our tornado warned storm here in northeastern portions of Delaware County. Let's go to the terminal Doppler. Okay, I see there's a little bit of rainfall. Okay, I see what Andrew Buckmichael's kind of picking up on there just a little bit. It's the overall, the reflectivity side. I'll kind of point this out just a little bit. Okay, so just the overall, you can kind of see where there would be a spin if this was filled in a little bit more. That's kind of what I think he's seeing, and I would kind of agree with what he's seeing as to where that rotation might be, why the tornado warning continues. But that's about to cross into western Knox County, and the fact that Cleveland is not picking up with an additional warning on that, I do think that before 2:45, Delaware County will be allowed to expire from that tornado warning. So just I wanted to kind of point that out. Then real quick, as Owen said, Weather Service in Charleston kind of picking up on some warnings. Real quick, I want to turn off the radar for just a moment and just want to point one thing out here. And of course, as soon as I do that, you want it to act up on me. So you see all these orange boxes, all of these severe thunderstorm warnings. Okay, understand, I know that this looks really, really bad. And it looks like, this is just an onslaught of just, a massive amount of severe thunderstorm warnings. Keep in mind a couple of things. Okay, number one, we have an initial line that was in Ross Pike and Scioto County, and the second line was back here. Okay, the warnings will be trimmed back. Go ahead, Owen.
The warning has been canceled for Delaware.
Fantastic. And real quick, let me just kind of wrap up my point here again for our southern counties. Don't be freaked out with this. Okay, this is nothing to get overly panicked about. This is nothing to get necessarily worked up about and think, oh my goodness, this is I'm going to be at this for 6 hours. We're going to be under these warnings for 6 hours. It's not necessarily the case, and I think the wind has just really picked up here again. Either that or it's raining really hard here again. But real quick, I just want to kind of point out for southern Ohio, we have 2 lines of thunderstorms. Let me see if I can get the radar turned back on again for me here. I think I'll be able to. Yep, it's coming. So 2 lines of thunderstorms right now that have our attention. And I think I may have just lost my trash can, but that's okay. Western Scioto County through Pike County, southeastern Ross County, Hocking County, up into Perry County. That's line number 1. Line number 2, southern Licking County, southeastern Franklin through Pickaway, Ross, Highland, Adams, Claremont, and Brown. That's line number 2. So if you're watching us over on the Middle Ohio Valley Weather Update, we do have 2 lines. This first one, though, I think does have the better potential of some severe weather potentially happening. The second line may just be kind of another round of wind showers, if you want to kind of go along with that term. So, and then Owen, did they? What was their reasoning behind that? As you called a megagon for Cleveland and Worcester and Ashland and Millersburg and Mount Vernon? Anything from them on that end?
I could give you my reasoning, but no, just because of the linear fashion of that line. But they are watching the storm in Morrow County. They are confirming that they are watching that closely.
Okay.
Cleveland, so they're kind of waiting, but they don't see anything just yet. They're kind of just in a wait and watch sort of mode, if you will.
Yeah, and real quick, just if there was one area of interest that I felt, a little bit concerned about, it's going to be here in east central Richland, kind of into western Ashland County. And if you are just kind of now joining us tonight, we've seen this a few times where these line segments, they kind of split into pieces, if you will. And when that happens, we've had a few tornado warnings this evening, some of which have been confirmed, some of which have not been confirmed just yet. We do know of at least 1 or 2 confirmed tornadoes so far tonight, at least in our local area, and there could be more. That's what storm surveys are for. But Brant, real quick, just wanted to toss it over to you. Are you seeing any reports from your end of things? I know you're probably monitoring your social media page, but are you seeing anything?
Yeah, I actually, well, not from my area, but I am. I'm waiting for this line to eventually get to me as it progresses eastward here, and I'm waiting to see on our on our weather machines here what the winds are reading. So, I am seeing a lot of reports out of the Miami County area that Owen touched on just a few minutes ago. A lot of damage north of the Troy, Ohio area. And again, it is nighttime, so it's very hard to see very clearly how much damage is down. But obviously, we did have that radar indicated debris ball earlier, so we know something was there. It's just hard to see at night with some of those areas without power, seeing what type of damage is left there. So we'll probably have to wait until tomorrow morning with the light of day to see if there's any significant damage out that way. But nothing more on this end right now. Just the wind's starting to pick up here.
Yeah, and real quick, just for you guys that are still here, and also I know Ken McNatt, I have not mentioned him a couple of times tonight, but I want to give him a big shout out. Thanks for taking care of all of our comments tonight. The photo that I just sent you guys kind of internally, that is from southwest Mercer County, just to the southwest of Salina, where we did have a tornado warning a little earlier tonight. So it's kind of hard to say exactly like what kind of damage that may or may not be, because it's obviously very dark, but looks like some rather decent damage there in southwestern portions of Salina. Again, we won't know until tomorrow morning whether or not that was really a tornado or if it was straight line wind, but just kind of wanted to point that out. That's where that was. And I do want to thank, that was from Kelly Anderson. Thanks for sending that photo to me, and you did it safely. I appreciate that you did not try to go out there and go out in the middle of the storm. You waited for the storm to pass. That's what we always encourage. So thank you for being safe, and we appreciate you sending in that photo. For those of you that are Mike, Owen, Brant, if you guys wanted to post that to your social pages, you can. But that is from near Salina, Ohio, early this morning at this particular point in time. So real quick, let's get a recap of warnings here, kind of top to bottom. Now that we're tornado warning free, I know that those of you in the middle of Hawaii are kind of just joining us, but you guys are actually kind of coming in on the back end of things a little bit here. We've had a very long night and a very long early morning so far, with a lot of severe weather going on across the region. Obviously, it was far worse to our west, but we do still have a line of severe thunderstorm warnings stretching from Cleveland to Portsmouth and points east.
Yeah.
They're kind of working north-south. Yeah, Owen, go ahead.
So, no, I was just clearing my throat, but we are, I was going to say, near Butler there in Richland County, Richland County, moving into Ashland County. Still, I mean, the last scan was better than this one, and it just updated, but so they're still looking at that. We are getting reports out of Lorraine of 61 knot thunderstorm gusts at the ASOS there. And let's see, finally, we're getting So out of Wilmington, if you're down in that area, it says they're getting sporadic strong to severe gusts along the line segments. The bottom line that they're saying is the threat for the strong to severe wind gusts will continue over the next 2 hours in the forecast area where the warnings are. They'll occasionally get some clearing out, and then they will go ahead and drop the tornado watch behind that. So basically, they're saying the next 1 to 2 hours, and it should be done, which would be out of their area anyway. But we're still seeing that gusty winds. But I'm just still watching that. I just keep looking at normalized rotation and looking at the inflow notch there around Butler, Ohio, south of Lucas there, just south of Mansfield, pretty much in Richland County.
Yeah, and too, also northern Ashland County too, there,
Yeah,
Owen.
and I've done a tornado survey there in Butler, so been there, done that, so I know that area very well, and just kind of watching that as well. And I do got to give a little plug out that you can send us pictures through the app. So if you download the app, you can send us
Yes.
pictures that way as well, and we'll get them in a nice organized fashion and at a pinpoint where it's at on the map.
Yeah, real quick, Mike, any updates from your family there in Richland County? I know you said a couple might still be up early this morning.
No updates there, but just to kind of piggyback on what Owen was just saying, down by Butler is where you're not too terribly far from Malabar Farm. You're not too far for some camping. On the Ashland County side near Loudonville with Mohican State Park there, you also have the Pleasant Hill Lake there. There's a little campground there too. So this could be impactful. I know it's still very early in the season, but I also do know with some folks on spring break, we may have some who have decided to set up campers in some of those recreational areas there. So something to keep in mind. I mean, right now the storm's on top of them. You might have a minute or two if you know anyone in Mohican to give them a call real quick. But for the most part, it's right on top of those locations. And yeah, I do see that this line segment in now pretty much Ashland County does have a few little kinks in it. The concern is lower than it was an hour ago. But this is if there's anywhere we're probably going to see anything spin up, it's probably going to be there. But we don't have a lot of surface-based instability anymore, so the chances of that continue to decrease.
Yeah, and real quick, and Owen, I'm not sure if you've even seen these reports, but I'm just kind of going through the ONW inbox here, and there are a plethora of reports coming out of Mercer and Algois County. Probably the most interesting to me was that somebody said that there was a barn in the middle of the St. Mary's River north of St. Mary's. So I'm not sure if you can either confirm or deny that you have seen that, but I would not be totally surprised to hear that report based on some of the radar returns we were seeing up there earlier this evening.
Right. I've seen a lot coming out of there, Nick, and I can't say that's confirmed at this point, but wouldn't be surprised to see some reports like that. And we're continuing to see those reports come in from all across that area. So, and we pointed that out, and I think we've been on the ball with that. So I'm happy that hopefully we're not. The one good thing I'll say is we're not hearing anything out of those areas about injuries or even worse. So that's a good thing.
Yes, most certainly. Obviously, that's what we kind of want to hear. So real quick, going back down to the south here real quick, and then I tell you, I will probably start to wrap things up here. Just because of the fact that I've been here. I'm not even sure if we are still live. I hope we are. We've been on. I can't see the exact time.
Yeah,
so
I
know that there are time limits on Facebook, and I don't want to run into that. But real quick, we'll touch base on the south. We'll go back north, and then we'll wrap things up. But, of course, we'll be on standby. We're not going anywhere. But before I do that, a couple things. Number one, Bell Park Weather Network app. Lower left-hand corner of your screen, there's a QR code. I'm going to make that a little bit larger right now so that you have the ability to see it and scan it. So might be a little bit too big there, but there you go. Okay, so you can look at that right now. You can scan it, download it. You're going to get the weather alerts. You can track the storms as they're coming to your area. In the event that we're not live, you can come on. You can take a look at things. You can track the storms. You can get detailed location right down to your house in terms of when it's going to arrive. The next thing of kind of interest here is Owen said you can submit damage photos to us in the app when you can do so safely. Please don't go out in the middle of the storm trying to catch anything, and that includes even those of you here across the Mid Ohio Valley here early this morning. So real quick, recap of our warnings across the south. We kind of have a hodgepodge of them, so just kind of bear with us here a little bit. But we have southeastern Highland, Claremont, and western Adams until 3 a.m. Severe thunderstorm for Ross, Pike, Adams, Scioto till 2:45. Franklin, Fairfield, and Pickaway, including Brant's area, till 3 o'clock. And the back half that's coming through, I'll toss it to him in a second for an update as it's kind of coming through there. Fairfield and Hocking till 3:15. Scioto County by itself there until, that's not correct, not in the notes, not 2:45. Looks like that's going to be, okay, so that's until 3 o'clock. And then Perry, Morgan, Athens, Vinton, Jackson, Gallia, and Lawrence and Meigs until 3 o'clock. All those are 60-mile-per-hour winds, no tornado tags, which means, again, damaging wind is the primary concern. And keep in mind, for those of you across the rest of the Mid Ohio Valley, Parkersburg, Spencer, Wheeling, what can I expect if you're there? Just as we kind of wrap things up here with you early this morning, please continue to keep in mind that warnings may continue, okay? And there is no watch. So, again, tell your friends, tell your family. If you know that somebody's getting up soon, maybe just give them a call, wake them up a little bit before that alarm clock, and just say, hey, got a line of strong thunderstorms coming through. Don't be surprised. Maybe some 60-mile-per-hour winds. But again, tornado threat looks really, 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 without saying really 10 more times, really low. So we're going to continue to watch that area closely. But again, warnings continue until about 3 o'clock in the morning or so. And then kind of recapping to the north here real quick. Cleveland, over to Elyria, down to Worcester, Millersburg. Again, now this line is the latest scan. It's been a little while since we came up here, but weakening. Really, really thin. Really, really thin line. Almost like thin like a toothpick in some locations, but still have a couple spots of interest, okay? So one of those is near Mohican. As Mike, you kind of mentioned, a little bit of a kink or a little bit of a notch there potentially, but nothing overly concerning in terms of a tornado right now. Southwestern Medina County, another little spot there, but for Cuyahoga, Lorain, Medina, Ashland, Wayne, Knox, and Holmes counties, a severe thunderstorm until 3 o'clock in the morning, and then Erie, Huron, Crawford, Richland, Morrow, and actually that's it for that until 2:45. So again, Ashtabula, Youngstown, Akron, Canton. What can I expect? A very thin line of thunderstorms, and really not even thunderstorms, but wind showers, if you will, gusty showers, racing to the east this morning. May see some additional wind gusts, 50 to 60 miles per hour. There's also some general thunderstorms. I'll kind of step to the side in between Youngstown and about Wheeling. So, but those are moving away, and those are a little weaker. No watch is going to be issued, period. We just don't see that happening. The Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center have talked about it. Lots of reports coming in here early this morning. We've got a lot to sort through as the day goes. But if you're in Ashtabula, Akron, Canton, New Philly, even as far south, far south as places like Zanesville, Cambridge, over to Youngstown, again, a really thin line kind of working across the region this morning with some gusty winds, and that's going to be about it. So real quick as we kind of wrap things up, Brant, how is that second part of the line treating you here early this morning?
Well, you could hear the wind pick up and you could hear the rain start hitting the house, but it was very short-lived. It's actually past me. It lasted less than 5 minutes, as you said, Nick. A very thin line of strong showers moving across here on the back side of this system. Behind it, we're going to have a lot of wind, and that's a whole nother story we'll have to talk about today. But I do want to go over two MPing reports that we did receive on the radar scope app, and it is we did get one out of, let's see, this is going to be out of the Hilliard area, of a 1-inch tree limb broken and shingles blown off a house, and then another one out of the northwest of Dayton. This one actually surprised me a lot. A 3-inch tree limb is broken and a couple power poles were broken. So definitely, as this line continues to push east, expect some windy conditions, and some minor tree damage is possible as this continues. But Nick, the good news is everything seems to be winding down. The tornado threat has definitely diminished, and it looks like we are going to get this system out of here by morning.
Yeah, most certainly. And Owen, I'll toss it over to you real quick, and then we'll go over to Mike, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, not much going on here. Just, as we continue to go into tomorrow, do keep in mind that we are under wind advisories. We have high wind warnings starting to pop up in some areas. So we'll be posting those, and we'll be getting through those. But do keep in mind tomorrow it's going to be very windy. and so have preparations for that, and we'll continue to decipher all the damage reports and start to post those as we get through tomorrow, as we get some damage surveys done. I'm sure the National Weather Service offices will be conducting some of those, and we'll post that information as we have it. And then to the one and only Mike Joyce.
I don't know, guys. It seems like you pretty much covered everything. Yeah, we do still have those active warnings. You're going to hear some heavy rain, especially in the eastern half of Ohio. If we have anybody watching from the specifically the Cleveland area, that's probably our most populated region right now being affected. A lot of heavy rain moving through the west suburbs, moving through the city of Cleveland, downtown, getting wet right now with a lot of heavy rain. We even have some very, very heavy rain, maybe even a couple little hailstones between Brooklyn and Brook Park along 480 and 71. But that's about it. I mean, I know not really seeing much lightning or if anything out of this. This is just a situation where we've gone to heavy, gusty showers. Certainly something to look out for, but for the most part, that threat will be diminishing as we head later into the morning. That's what I've got for you.
All right, awesome team. I appreciate you guys. And first of all, to all of you at home this morning, thank you for watching. Again, we will be on standby in the event anything happens. I'm not going anywhere early this morning. I've got to get some posts ready for all of you this morning, and then once things have kind of fully settled down, I'll take my happy self to bed here this morning, and I hope all of you get a chance to do the same. This line of showers and storms continues to progress on through. Again, we're just going to continue to watch that. Make sure you have this guy right here, the Bell Park Weather Network app. It is free. Download it in the Google and Apple Play stores. Android was fixed, okay? So if you do have the Android app, make sure that you've gone into your app store and that you've downloaded the update. We had a few bugs. I pressed the developer very quickly, and I know they were also working themselves to get that fixed for us, and it was very timely. They got it done today right before things really got going and active, so thank you to them for that. But also this QR code, you can take a screenshot of that. It's good for a couple more days. I actually just got an email stating that's only good for a few more days, so I'll find another site and generate a new code. But for the time being, use that, download it, turn on the notifications. You can submit photos to us, all that good stuff. Very helpful for you. So for our entire Bell Park Weather Network team this morning, we have 11 of us, but I'm not going to name all of us. But I just want to thank every single one of our team members here early this morning. I'll go ahead and name all of you. We got Brant, John, Zach, Owen, Ken, Mike, Adriana, Brandon. I may have forgotten somebody, but again, just everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here early this morning. We appreciate you.
Tyler.
Oh yeah, and Tyler. Yes, I forgot about. I knew I would forget one, so I'm sure he'll get me for that a little bit later on this morning. That's okay. But thanks for joining us here early this morning. Download our app, and of course, we'll be on standby if anything else happens here early this morning. Expect some radar updates, but again, just download our app, and you'll be good to go. Have a great night, everybody. When thunder roars, get indoors, be safe, and we'll catch you back here next time.